everybody. It is time for another brilliant race from the Downforce Grand Prix World Series. Round 13 of the 15-race championship from Buenos Aires in Argentina. Time to return to a fantastic staple of the Grand Prix scene from years gone by. However, of course, we've had 12 thrilling races coming up to this point. So let's talk you through how things stack up, because the Drivers' Championship can be won today by Jean-Eric Vergne. He has a lead of 36 points over Kamui Kobayashi with 3 races remaining. If he finishes third, with Kobayashi failing to score, Vergne will be the champion. However, it's very close behind for third position. Lotterer, Hartley, De La Rosa, Marc Chenet, Nico Hulkenberg, Lucas de Grassi, and Jaime Alguersuari and Timo Glock, all very close to each other in their fight for the remaining positions in the top 10, and there are more drivers queuing up behind. Stoffel Van Dorn has scored well over the course of the season now. Paul Di Resta in 12th position. Sebastian Buemi no longer present, but Sebastian Bourdais hoping to surge past him in the title race. Alexander Rossi scoring consistent points wherever possible. Nick Heidfeld no longer present. Anthony Davidson and Scott Dixon in the hunt. And then, of course, we have Bruno Senna having scored points, but no longer with us in the championship, having been replaced by Takuma Sato. And Robin Freins has scored well in his first 2 races, and in fact starts from third position on the grid for today's race. So keep an eye on him. He's sure to be a convincing factor. Gabriele Tarquini and James Courtney have scored well for BMS Italia, with Marcus Ericsson and Susie Wolff tied for points. The latter, Susie Wolff, is banned from this race for consistent ignoration of the blue flags, and so she misses one race, replaced as a very kind gesture from Super Aguri for a one-race opportunity for Antonio Felix da Costa, so he'll be stepping in. Taki Inui has 7 points on the board now for 40. Takuma Sato has scored 2 points, albeit both of them from qualifying after scoring 2 pole positions, the same amount of points as Luciano Berti, and Pedro Diniz and Pascal Wehrlein both have a point apiece. However, the championship that the managers that we are working with care about is the team standings, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is wide open. BAR Play Life have had their I will get that right eventually, have had their points lead absolutely slashed by the likes of Arrows, Manor and Prost. They are gaining ground big time in the latter stages of the season, and with 3 races to go, it could still go to anybody, that title. Super Aguri catching up in 5th position as well. AGS, Minardi and Simtek have all scored well of late. Onyx are quick but not reliable. They're hoping to change that around. Lola and BMS Italia are trying to hang on in there, while 40 and Midland are in the race, and not to be at the back of the field. So it should be a very competitive race ahead of us. So let's head down to the green room and see if we can chat to a few of our team managers, because of course that is what we do here. It is the Minecraft of motorsport for those who have never competed with a steering wheel or rig, or even for those who have. It's an alternative means of e-racing and sim racing and esports for those who don't want to get themselves into a racing rig and go racing wheel to wheel. These guys are the team managers. They've selected a reject F1 team from the past, reject drivers as well, and they will continue to storm their way through the Grand Prix grids. Let's have a word then with our team managers. We will start, I think, this time with Tom Cairns, the Prost manager, and I have to say, a front row lockout for Pedro de la Rosa and Jaime Alguersuari. We've seen this before. Can you finally convert this into a 1-2, which would definitely make things more competitive in the Constructors' Championship?
So I've missed out on most of what you said there. I think you cut up at that point.
I do apologise.
Trying to put it in the most accurate way possible, given what I've heard. I think we've got a good chance in this race once again. And given where we are in the Constructors' Championship, that massive gap that we managed to close on BAR has shown that we have the package to show that we can fight for this championship now. And if we can carry that through into Buenos Aires, then we've got a good chance to get an even better result, because it would have been a 1-2 had it not been for Pedro de la Rosa's throttle problem that had forced him into the pits to get fixed before he rejoined. It would have been a 1-2. So we're hoping that in Buenos Aires we do manage to get through to the end of the race without any issues.
So obviously it will be very competitive out there, but there's a lot of teams that could take this victory away from you. And this not being a power circuit, you have the most powerful package, but this is about mechanical grip. Do you think you guys still have what it takes to get the job done?
I think so, yeah. I mean, to be honest, I was really hoping we'd be at the front of the grid, to be honest with you, because we know that cornering speed here in Buenos Aires is paramount. And I do feel we've got we do have the performance, especially coming out of corners. We know how good our acceleration is in comparison to most of the other drivers. So if we can pull away at the beginning and pull out a big enough margin for when we come in for our pit stops, we should be we should still be at the front, to be honest with you, Jake, because I'm not sure what the pit window times would be, but I do know that the pit entry is before the last proper corner, if you want to call that. So if you consider the amount of time lost in the pit, we should have track position and rejoin without being overtaken by any of those behind us.
Well, we'll see how it plays out, but a massive thanks, Tom. Let's have a chat with the team boss at Onyx, Ryan Ferris. Ryan, Takuma Sato again putting himself at the sharp end of the field, but he could really do with some luck to get that car home this time. What do you think the chances are here in Argentina?
I don't really want to guess anything at the moment because, as you've alluded to, our luck hasn't really gone our way. We've had 3 races in a row without scoring points, and 2 of those were a double DNF. So we have invested a little bit on reliability. So we're hoping to get to the end.
So obviously it is going to be a tough race for the Onyx team, but it's also going to be a fairly tough race for AGS and their team boss Phil Kinch. There has been some positivity from the squad though recently, because you've had a double finish recently, and that's obviously very, very helpful in terms of getting the team standings up. But how do you think Lotterer and Rossi are going to fare today?
I'm going to be cautiously optimistic on their performance today. Like you say, two double finishes for the last 2 races, albeit in some respects being a lap down in almost each case. So we've gone for a bit of a horsepower increase. We're sort of looking at things now as we're coming towards the end of the season, thinking, do you know what, let's just go for it. We've tried putting reliability into the cars and it's not exactly worked out too well. So we're just going to keep adding the horsepower, see if we can get further up the grid. The strategy seems to be now that the guys are qualifying sort of 16, 17 on the grid on most races and then working their way forwards as attrition takes place. We'll go with that and see what happens, but we're cautiously optimistic.
Perfect. Sounds like a good strategy. We've got time for one more before the race gets underway, so let's have a word with Topher Smith of the Super Aguri team. Topher, there's been some positivity from you guys as well recently. Robin Friends has come into the team and shaken things up and started to outclass Timo Glock to a certain extent, but now he's there up at the front end of the field again as well. He could spring a bit of a surprise here.
Robin has settled in really well into the team. He's come on board with lots of natural talent anyway, and he's putting it to good use. I mean, he came into the team with not having much experience of Formula One. He's only done a couple of tests previously, I believe, with Caterham and Red Bull. And now he's landed himself a full-time race seat. He is showing just what he can do. And yeah, as you said, he is showing Timo up a little bit. Not that Timo's doing a bad job. There is still a very close spread to the field at the moment. But yeah, Robin's just getting that little bit extra out of the car, and it's showing with third place on the grid. I really hope he has a good race today.
Fantastic. Well, let's see what happens. Good luck to our managers, whether you are in the green room or not. And I'm sure it is going to be an absolute thriller here at Buenos Aires. So it's the first time we've been racing on the Autodromo y Oscar Galvez for the first time since 1998 in Grand Prix racing. So for those who need to be familiarised with the circuit again, let's take you for a tour. And it is Robin Friends who's going to take us on an exploratory lap of the circuit. You fly over the start-finish straight after a left-hand kink, and then there is actually quite a long run down to that first corner, so that should give us plenty of entertainment and action through this first turn. You've got to keep quite a wide line through the right-hander. You don't get too close to those curves, and you've got to keep it nice and smooth as you edge out throughout. Then over to the right-hand side because you tuck into the left and over the curb for that long sweeping turn 3. Back on the power. This is a tricky section of the course now. As you come into this left-hander, you've got to carry a little bit of curb and then kiss again over the top on the inside line through turn 5, and then this long sweeping turn 6. You hold into the curb, then bow out of it to hold the outside line. Then down the long back straight. This is where you carry a lot of speed through the right-hander. You've got to carry it and use a bit of curb both on the in and outer sections of the course. Then you hold on the brakes. This is where Schumacher made his dive on Coulthard in the 98 event and ended up spinning the McLaren through the chicane left and right, then into a tight left-hander, square left, short burst on the throttle, and then you carry it straight into the next left-hander. A little run down to the drop now. This is a very tricky corner. Remember how remember how Jean Alesi and Johnny Herbert, the Sauber teammates, tagged on the way to the grid in 98. Through the left and through the right, dropping their way out, back on the power as you open out through. There's the pit lane entry to the right hand side that Tom Cairns was alluding to, and then into this final hairpin, the right hand side, and then you get back on the power and you're on the throttle all the way through this next section as you come back over the start-finish line. 72 laps of racing. It is going to be a tough one, and it's all going to be about mechanical grip and race strategy. Who's going to get the best of it? We will find out as we get ourselves ready for racing at Buenos Aires. Here is the starting grid. A Prost front row for De La Rosa and Alguersuari, 400ths of a second apart. Robin Frijns in the Super Aguirres alongside Nico Hülkenberg in the Arrows. Takuma Sato 5th for Onyx, and Jean-Eric Vergne in 6th place for BAR. Arrows and Simtek are on row 4, and then Stoffel Van Dorn and Paul Di Resta round out the top 10. Lucas de Grassi lines up beside Timo Glock, 0.6 of a second from pole, but only 12th. Brendan Hartley and Sebastian Bourdais, the AGS twins, in the 8th row of the grid. Pascal Wehrlein down in 17th alongside Marc Genet. And then the Midlands are on row 10 together, Ericsson and Diniz. Antonio Felix da Costa substituting for Susie Wolff in the Lola. Then James Courtney and Gabriele Tarquini in the BMS Italias. Davidson is in 24th, and then it's an all-40 back row. The title can be won today, but only if the victory is taken, or the top 3 is taken by Jean-Eric Vergne and Kobayashi fails to score. It's all to play for in Argentina. We are ready to rock and roll here in Buenos Aires. It's going to be a thrilling encounter ahead of us. 72 laps of racing. The Prosts are on the front row of the grid. De La Rosa holding the inside line to get the jump, but we've seen several starts not quite go the way of the pole sitter. Let's see if Robin Frijns or Nico Hülkenberg can make a big jump. This is an opportunity for the team standings to close up, but Jean-Eric Vergne can win the title today if he finishes in the top 3 and Kobayashi fails to score. The team standings are wide open. Let's race at Buenos Aires, and it's a cracking start from Scott Dixon in the Simtek. He blasts past Jean-Eric Vergne off the line. Alguersuari's got a better launch than De La Rosa. Hülkenberg's got a great start as well. And it looks as though he's going to be the 2 Prosts down to the first corner. Oh, a little bit of nudging on the way through the first couple of corners. But it looks to me as though essentially everybody is through A-OK. I can't see anybody with major damage, but Jaime Alguersuari has broken through to the lead of the race. And the arrows of De La Rosa, the arrows of Hülkenberg trying to get through on the inside of Pedro De La Rosa. And De La Rosa has held him off. So a great little start to the race then, but De La Rosa under some massive pressure already from Nico Hülkenberg. Takuma Sato's made a good start as well in the Onyx. He's in 4th place now in front of Robin Frijns, who's not had the best of launches. Scott Dixon, though, has blasted up to 6th position off the grid. Then it's de Grassi and Lotterer. That's an amazing start from Andre Lotterer in the AGS, up into 8th place from 15th on the grid. Then it's Hartley, Van Dorn, Glock and Kobayashi. Jean-Eric Vergne's had an absolute mare of a start, down to 13th place in the BAR. And then it is Alex Rossi and Antonio Felix da Costa's made a good start in the Lola. Straight up into 15th place, past his teammate De Resta as well. So that is a magic start from the Portuguese driver, up into 15th place. Then it's De Resta, Bourdais, Inui's had a flyer in 18th. Courtney is 19th. Wehrlein's had an absolute howler. Down to 20th goes the BAR. Make that 21st now because Marc Genet's got back through. Then the Midlands of Ericsson and Diniz, Davidson, Tarquini and Delatraz. And that is it at the end of the first lap as they come through. The Prosts are together. De La Rosa has dropped Hülkenberg and he's now already starting to make inroads into his teammate. As they come down to the first corner, Alguersuari sets the fastest lap, but De La Rosa is trying to close up on his teammate. And you do get the sense that these two, if they're not careful, are going to start taking the interim team battle a little bit too close to each other. So it is going to be very tight between the two Prost racers, Alguersuari and De La Rosa, first and second. Here comes the field. That's Pascal Wehrlein in the BAR, really struggling at the moment. He's not been able to get this car up to speed at all. And it's really hampered the BAR team's progress in terms of getting points on the board for the team standings. He's not had the same amount of luck that Sebastian Buemi had. And Buemi was able to put 47 points on the board in his first few races. Pascal Wehrlein just won. But here is the leader, Jaime Alguersuari. Pedro De La Rosa in second place. Then Hülkenberg, Sato, Frijns, Dixon, de Grassi, Lotterer, Hartley and Van Dorn in the top 10. Immediately, there's been some good battles here at Buenos Aires in the opening couple of laps as the field are trying to get themselves through. There's the new boy, just filling in for one race. Antonio Felix da Costa had to make his debut with the Lola team this weekend. It was all going to be down to whether or not Lola replaced the outgoing Susie Wolf. She'll be back, we are told, for the 14th race of the championship when we go to Vancouver in Canada. And that will be on Wednesday night. But unfortunately, because she got excluded from the race and then given a one-race ban. No, she wasn't excluded from the race. My apologies. As Scott Dixon sets the new fastest lap. And Andre Lotter is under pressure now from Brendan Hartley. Hartley up the inside line into turn 1, and he gets through. So Hartley into P8 past Lotterer. Cracking start from the AGS, but slips down into 9th position on this particular occasion as Marc Genet goes off at the first corner. Whoops-a-daisy from Marc Genet. And he runs off there at turn 1. And of course, this being an old school Grand Prix circuit, that's actually put him off into the gravel trap. So he is trying to get the car back onto the circuit again. Also, without doing too much damage to the Minardi. He has rejoined, but that's a big difficulty for Marc Genet as he now finds himself at the back of the field. But no, I was just going to allude to the fact that obviously the battles throughout the field are obviously going to be very tight all the way through. But Antonio Felix da Costa in the Lola I was talking about, yes, he replaced Susie Wolf, who was given a one-race ban for ignoring blue flags on 2 separate races consecutive with each other. She was on a warning and a reprimand essentially from the first, but then in the second race it was several team managers that got their back up a little from Susie Wolf, so she was excluded as Jean-Denis Delatraz spins the 40. Whoops-a-daisy, Jean. That did not quite go the way you meant it to, did it, mate? And Jean-Denis Delatraz loses the back of the 40. He's having a good laugh in his return to Grand Prix racing, but it hasn't exactly been an opportunity for him to colour himself in glory. He's one of only 3 drivers in the field that has not scored a point in this category. And the other 2 drivers that haven't scored a point in this category are no longer competing. Stefano Modena, who only did the first 2 races, and Enrique Bernaldi, who failed to finish a single race of the 6 he attempted to at Midland. Here's Takuma Sato, trying to make his bid on the arrows. So Takuma Sato in the Onyx, trying to get underneath Nico Hulkenberg's arrows and find a way through, but has not been able to do so far. A very tricky start to proceedings at the moment. And unfortunately for Jean-Denis Delatraz, in the first 12 races, he's only made it to the finish 4 times. So big problems there. But an absolutely terrific battle as the racers continue on their way. Good to have all of you watching along, those of you who are choosing to do so. And there you go, Hulkenberg, struggling to keep Sato at bay here. The Arrows driver still giving it plenty of gusto as they come through the double left-hand apex. Plenty of curb on the exit line and then back on the power once again. Yeah, a very unusual line through there as they try and get themselves straightened up on the nice inside line there. Then you drop down this hill. Tough sequence of corners this. There's not many overtaking opportunities at Buenos Aires. It's one of those circuits that's obviously a return visit for the field, but I have a feeling they're going to get quite frustrated by it. But the last 2 rounds of the competition are going to be taking place at Vancouver in Canada, and then next week on Saturday the season finale will occur in the Grand Prix World Series, and that is at Laguna Seca in Monterey, California. Grand Prix cars around Laguna Seca. It's never happened before, but there's always a first time for everything. So here is Pedro de la Rosa closing in on Jaime Alguersuari, the 2 Spanish drivers for Prost. They got a little bit close together in terms of their duel for position in the race at Fuji, but it ended up that there was not a lot of controversy between them in the end at all. Let's have a look at the fuel levels and see where we're at. De La Rosa is going to go to about lap 23. Alguersuari's on a one-stop strategy by the look of it, or certainly a very heavy fuel load to start the race, and that's where his teammate could really give him a little bit of hard pressure. And you can see that De La Rosa is getting closer and closer to Alguersuari. So it's probably not going to be too long before he starts to pressurise him for an attack. There is Hulkenberg in 3rd, and he's going relatively short into the race. It looks like it could be a 2-stop strategy for him. Takuma Sato's got even lighter. He might try a 3-stopper. And then we have Robin Freins in 5th position. So Freins running reasonably well in the Super Aguri. Dixon's gone on a light fuel load as well, similar to that of Sato. And then Degrassi's gone a little heavier. Brendan Hartley in the manner likewise. Andre Lotterer is on what appears to be a heavy two-stopper or a one-stop strategy, depending on what they choose. Van Dorn in the Simtek likewise. Timo Glock's gone light in the Super Aguri and has made the bid up to 11th place, passing Kobayashi in the process. New fastest lap from Hulkenberg, I notice, as they come across the line. Jean-Eric Verne has got 15 laps in the car, but has not had the greatest start to his race, and he's down in 13th place. So it is going to be a tough title for him to win today, that is for sure. What about Alex Rossi in the second AGS? Well, the AGS is there with about 15 laps or so left in the car. Da Costa in the Lola is running reasonably well. Then Di Resta. And Di Resta's going to go longer into the race than his teammate. That's probably why Da Costa's been allowed the chance to go out in front. Then it's Bourdais. And Bourdais in the Onyx has got a reasonably decent run out of it. James Courtney with about a dozen laps still in the car before he comes into the pits. Taki Inui and Pascal Wehrlein going a little bit longer into the race. Diniz going longer than his teammate Marcus Ericsson, who's going to go heavy into this stint. So is Davidson. Tarquini needs to make some inroads quickly because he's on a lighter fuel load than Davidson. And then Marc Genet in the Minardi after his spin is going light. And Delatraz on a relatively simple fuel strategy. Well, Alguersuari being heavy and out in front is actually causing a massive headache for the cars behind because, as we mentioned, this is not a power circuit. This is all about mechanical grip and smooth running. There's not a lot of overtaking opportunities at Argentina other than this first corner, really. And Alguersuari is running a very heavy car, but as a result, he's backing up the queue. So Alguersuari's made a terrific start, but he's on a heavy fuel load compared to the others behind him. And now we're getting a massive queue forming. So there is Anthony Davidson struggling in front of Gabriele Tarquini. His teammate Marc Genet is 2 places behind in 25th place. Delatraz down at the back after his spin. But a very tricky situation. Let's see how it is going to unfold as we're on lap 7 of 72. Alguersuari and De La Rosa, 0.4 of a second between each other. Nico Hulkenberg is third in the Arrows. Then Takuma Sato in the Onyx, giving him pressure. And Freins is in 5th position. Now, surely De La Rosa is going to try and make his bid on Alguersuari. He had a bit of a swarm around, and that was too hasty. Hulkenberg's going to try and make his bid. He can't get by. But Alguersuari is really causing a headache now for the drivers behind. They are desperately trying to find a way past the Prost. But Alguersuari, on a heavy fuel load compared to everybody else, is not able to get away and is holding up the pack. So that does actually give us quite an exciting race, though, because everybody's going to get closer to him, and we'll try and get the undercut over the course of the race. And Alguersuari's obviously not just got a heavy car, but he's got to make those tyres last longer than anybody else as well. But on a clear bit of racetrack, because he has got clear track in front of him, he doesn't have to panic too much about that. Just needs to keep it in the straight and narrow, essentially. So down to the first corner again. Jaime Alguersuari leads this race. De La Rosa, his teammate, is second, but getting frustrated by his teammate. They're clearly going for a very interesting strategy here. Alguersuari seems to think that with the heavier fuel load, he can still win the race, but only if he keeps the rest of the field behind him. And Antonio Felix da Costa goes off at the first corner. Well, the Portuguese driver on lap 8 just pushes too far into the first corner, and I'm afraid that is his brilliant race so far. Pretty much done and dusted, but Degrassi is out of the race, we're told. Degrassi is out. Let's have a look and see what happened to him. He was in 7th place. Oh, he's got a puncture. A puncture for Degrassi. And there it is, that the car is absolutely destroyed at the rear quarter on the right-hand side of the car. And that means that, unfortunately, Lucas Degrassi is now out of the race. So that's one of the manners gone. And that is definitely bad news indeed for team manager Sam Hall. So Degrassi is out. And that doesn't do him any favours. Marc Genet off again! That's the second time for Marc Genet. Let's have a look and see what's happened to the Minardi. Has he got a problem? Or has he just overshot into the first corner? Let's watch. Yeah, look, he's just got far too late on the brakes and ended up overshooting at the first corner. So when Degrassi was being cleared away, Marc Genet just overshoots into the first corner. And that's the second time he's done it. Meanwhile, Jean-Denis Delatraz is into the pits with an electrical problem. So guys that are already in trouble are just adding mountains onto molehills, essentially, now. Nico Hulkenberg in 3rd position through the double apex left-hander, and Tarquini's going to get his run on Davidson. No, Tarquini had to bail out. That was close. Very close indeed. But unfortunately for the likes of Jenny and Delatraz, they've really hampered any chance of getting a decent result here today at Buenos Aires. But Alguersuari is just hanging on to the lead. With a heavy car and a clear track in front of him, all he has to do is maintain the lead. And Delatraz still going, but obviously with the electrical problem, having to pit to reset the car. But that's already put him over half a lap behind on lap 9 of 72. But the 40 still looks quite resplendent in its Shannon Group colours. Dave Goddard, team manager, quite proud of the fact as well, I'm sure, that they're ahead of the Midland team for all this. In the team standings, 7 points for the team compared to Midland, who have 5. So here is the Prost on board. Jaime Alguersuari looking back to Della Rosa. There's James Courtney in the BMS Italia. Would have had an incredible Formula 1 career, I'm sure, had it not been for his massive testing accident for Jaguar at Monza in 2002. It got him right out of sorts, and he was lucky ever to get back into a racing car again, to be fair. But he went back to his native Australia and became the Supercars champion of Australia. And thanks to Adam Weller, the BMS Italia team manager, he's been given a second crack at Grand Prix racing, and he has been a point scorer here. He has done a fair job. Tarquini tries again on Davidson, and again, that's the only overtaking opportunity he's getting. But he just doesn't have the conviction to snap it up the inside line and hope for the best. And that is where he's really struggling. So Alguersuari hanging on to this advantage. But Della Rosa is 4/10 back. Another 4/10 back is Hulkenberg. Another 4/10 back is Takuma Sato. And half a second back, well, just under that, is Robin Frines. So the queue is piling up. And Scott Dixon's in the mix there as well, 4/10 behind Robin Frines. So the top 6 are absolutely line astern, and they're stretching away from Brendan Hartley, while Andre Lotterer on a heavy fuel load in 8th place is starting to drop the field back as well. But not as many overtaking opportunities as they could do with. So Emma Butterworth is pointing out that Kobayashi and Verne need to get past Lotterer. And Tom Butterworth is pointing out that without failures, the podium will be Alguersuari, Lotterer, then Della Rosa. Fascinating observation, but I don't think Lotterer, even though he's on a one-stop strategy, will get the real opportunity. Della Rosa tries again on his teammate. That's not been very helpful as far as he's concerned. And again, Della Rosa has to move to the inside line for the hairpin to protect from Hulkenberg. This is stalemate at the front of the field at the moment. But Emma Butterworth is pointing out the team boss of Arrows. She states Lotterer is causing Arrows and BAR a massive headache. Speaking of headaches for BAR, that's Pascal Wehrlein unable to get past Taki Inui. Well, even Taki Inui is having a bit of an interesting day. And here is that battle. Jean-Eric Verne is stuck behind his main championship rival, Kamui Kobayashi. Neither of them in the points today. So it will stay as it is in the title race. And the fight for the title will go to Vancouver. But this is causing a major headache for the BAR and Arrows teams, having Andre Lotterer in 8th place ahead of these guys, really struggling to make an impact. Della Rosa into the first corner. The top 6 are well clear. Oh, and Scott Dixon locks up! Oh, no! Scott Dixon overshoots to the first corner. He just got a little bit too close to Frines in the braking zone, and that's put the Simtech down the order. So that's going to be Hartley up to 6th, Lotterer up to 7th, Van Dorn into 8th place, but Dixon makes a very rare driving error, and unfortunately that is the Simtech now down and off at the first corner. That's going to drop him out of the top 10. It's already dropped him way out of the top 15 as the Prosts are still absolutely together. Is Della Rosa going to make his move? He has to think about it. We're right on board with Hulkenberg, who's going to get the chance to close up on the Prost again. But there's no change. Very tight at the front end of the field between the two Prosts. Alguersuari, Della Rosa, Timo Glock having a go at Van Dorn, can't get through. And Delatraz very nearly going off there. Goodness me, he's already had 1 or 2 moments in this race. Delatraz is having enough incidents for an entire season just in the first 11 laps of racing. So he completes that 10. And the rest of the field, of course, and of course him now as well on lap 11. But it isn't going to be an easy race to predict this one. Oh, and Alguersuari locks up big time there into the final hairpin. So this is the best chance yet Della Rosa is going to have of passing his teammate, and he knows it. He's going to have him on the run down the straight. He'll have a lighter car. He'll have the same amount of horsepower, but he will be lighter. Will he make the bid into the first corner? Surely De La Rosa's got to go for it, and he does. De La Rosa up the inside of his teammate Alguersuari, trying to defend around the outside, but De La Rosa's through. And that's definitely going to help a few people out. Oh, Hulkenberg's in trouble. Hulkenberg is out. Engine failure for Hulkenberg. I did wonder where he'd gone. But Hulkenberg, I'm afraid, is out of this race. Disaster for Arrows. Oh dear, they've had absolutely no luck this second half of the season. And Di Resta, by the way, is in the pits. What is that for? Surely it's not the first pit stop already for Di Resta. No, he had front wing damage. So Di Resta had front wing damage as Hulkenberg was being wheeled away. So, big drama already in this race as De La Rosa has taken the lead of his teammate Alguersuari. Dixon has gone off, and unfortunately to a spin for a couple of spins in the field while Dixon going off, and then a retirement and engine failure for Hulkenberg. Here's Takuma Sato now, going to try and make his bid for Alguersuari as Alex Rossi runs deep in the AGS through the hairpin. Is Sato going to get his chance on Alguersuari soon? The Japanese driver really does need to make light work of the Spaniard in second place. Well, very tough battle so far, but unfortunately for Hulkenberg, it's game over. What that does mean, though, is that it puts Kobayashi and Verne into the points after Dixon's off. So Kobayashi and Verne are now back into the points, the sole remaining Arrows and the BAR. And at the moment, the gap that Verne has over Kobayashi is going to be decreased from 36 points to 35. If it stays like this. But a big problem. Oh, Brendan Hartley locking up there into the hairpin. Emma Butterworth is ruining the day she ever went for Alfa Romeo engines. They are not the most reliable engines in the world, are they? So here is Brendan Hartley, 5 seconds off the lead. The Manor is still in with a shot of this. And I think the Kiwis just realised how close he is to the leading car. De La Rosa's pulled out a second on Alguersuari. Here we go. Sato and Frines are in the mix there as well. Di Resta continues on his way. Di Resta not exactly covering himself in glory, but then neither did his teammate Da Costa. So we've got, of the cars that have gone off the road, we've got Da Costa in 20th, Dixon is 21st, Gene is 22nd, Di Resta has rejoined in 23rd, and Delatraz is unfortunately right down the back of the field as well. And then the two retirements are Lucas Di Grassi for Manor and Nico Hulkenberg for Arrows. Here's Alguersuari looking back at Sato and Frines. Well, it's very difficult. Apparently there is a bit of an argument going on down in the pits between Arrows and Alfa Romeo as De La Rosa locks up. So there is a heated conversation going on between Arrows and Alfa Romeo down in the pits. Team boss Emma Butterworth is not happy. They are second in the standings, but with Prost going as well as they are these days, and Super Aguri mounting a challenge too, for how long are they going to stay second in the title fight? They are 9th in the race at the moment with the sole remaining car. Sato and Frines are queuing up to go for Alguersuari, as Stoffel van Dorn is now getting frustrated, sat behind Andre Lotterer in the AGS. But we're getting closer and closer to those first scheduled pit stops, so strategy is definitely going to come into play here at Buenos Aires. I wonder how keen the drivers, how keen the managers are going to be about returning to Buenos Aires in Argentina. It's a former Grand Prix circuit, hasn't been used since 1998. But of course, the competitors, the managers do get a say into which race circuits are allowed to stay and which circuits are allowed to leave for each particular season. And the championship next year is likely to be made up of more than the 15 races it was for this initial season, especially when you consider that there are going to be 26 teams in the series next year, not 13. And Sato getting very close to Alguersuari now. Will he get his chance at the inside? No, Alguersuari holds that inside line very covetedly, as De La Rosa has extended his advantage now to 2.3 seconds. It is never easy to predict how these races are going to fare, as Glock has a look on the inside of Van Dorn. But again, he's frustrated, back in position. So let's see if this is going to be a significant run. It will be a very difficult race to predict from here on in. That's Pascal Wehrlein in 14th place, on his own now, having finally got past Taki Inui. But he's got to make up some seconds to James Courtney. And that's how much time you lose by going off the circuit. All the guys behind have had a difficult race of it. But Da Costa is 20th. Dixon, Gene, Di Resta and Delatraz have all had issues, and they are down at the back. Here's Takuma Sato, trying to keep up in a straight line with Jaime Alguersuari. The only person who's been able to make that overtaking bid on Alguersuari is De La Rosa. And he is definitely now trying to take advantage of that by getting away. And hopefully going to take a very strong lead from his point of view. But the Prosts are not bulletproof. They still have their foibles. They still have their issues. Meanwhile, Arrow's definitely having a difficulty. Andrew Sampson says, any chance of the Nürburgring Nordschleife next season? That's ambitious. I can tell you it's probably unlikely. Not because the circuit is no good, because that's not the case. But it is going to be too short for Grand Prix 2 purposes. It won't really give us the race that we want. So there is discussion, though, about the 1950s F1 season. And, of course, the Grand Prix season would start in 1950 and work its way through to 2019. So we are going to continue our way through. 2020 apparently is already being built within the community. So that would obviously catch us up as well. 70 years of Grand Prix racing in the Retro Racing Managers League, anybody? Jaime Alguersuari running well in second place. He's got about 22 laps more of this before he comes in. That will take him to about lap 37. De La Rosa is only going to go another 6 laps or so, I would have thought, before he makes his pit stop. Sato's got a good run out of the final turn this time. Can he get in the slipstream of Alguersuari and go for the move? He's definitely starting to think about it, but that Prost has got such grunt in the straight line that Sato is just not quite able to keep up with him in a straight line. It's in the corners where the Prost is actually quite weak. It has too much grunt, too much power for the corners, and with this being a tight and twisty race car, it's a bit of stalemate, essentially, as Scott Dixon now closes up on Antonio Felix da Costa, the Portuguese talent, who's in his one and only race of the season for Lola, which is a very nice gesture from the Super Aguri team to loan the Lola team Antonio Felix da Costa for one race after Susie Wolf was banned from one race after her shenanigans at Shah Alam in Malaysia and Fuji in Japan. 2 consecutive races of ignoring blue flags, and several team managers were annoyed, so she was penalised. She'll return, though, at the next round of the championship, which is going to be on the streets of Vancouver in Canada. And then, of course, the final race of the season at Laguna Seca in California, USA. De La Rosa now 4 seconds clear of Alguersuari. That is how much Alguersuari's heavy fuel load is holding them up. It's the most powerful car on the grid. But unfortunately, despite that, the Ford engine is just not able to carry the car further away from the rest of the pack. Davidson running a good race in front of the BMS Italia. So they are continuing on their form. Let's see how this race continues to shape up. The competitors running a decent race on the far side. So this will be a tough old battle. They know what's at stake here. Everybody continuing to charge forward. Davidson running a reasonable race. De La Rosa still out in front and has stretched out the gap to 4.1 seconds to Alguersuari. Sato still there in third from Friends, Hartley, Lotterer, Van Dorn, Glock, Kobayashi and Verne. So I think the way things are currently stacked up on lap 17, the driver's title is going to continue to Vancouver in Canada, which will be a fairly crazy race actually. The street circuit, another one to add to the calendar. Here's Sato having a go at Alguersuari. He just can't make the move there. As Di Resta has a punt on the inside of Genet, and Di Resta overshoots. Oh, what a mistake from Paul Di Resta. Big front wing damage to the car as well. Genet was lucky to get away with that. But Paul Di Resta, unfortunately, just far too ambitious on the inside of Marc Genet. And Genet was quite sensible. He just got on the brakes, let it roll off the power, let Di Resta make the mistake and go off. And Marc Genet able to continue on in the Minardi. But it seems a hell of a long time ago since Marc Genet was leading the driver's standings. Oh, that's Glock! That's Glock! Suspension failure for the Super Aguri. So, Timo Glock, who was actually having a much better race this time. But Glock is out, I'm afraid. The Super Aguri was looking much stronger for him here at Buenos Aires. And he was certainly not looking lackluster compared to what had happened in the previous couple of races. But it's still not really gone his way. And the suspension failure triggers him off. And Brendan Hartley goes off at the first corner now. I wonder if there's some oil down there at turn 1. Brendan Hartley was very lucky. He gets going again without losing the place. And that's because Andre Lotterer has ended up holding up the field so much in 6th position that there's a bit of a gap. So Hartley can just focus on rolling off the power, getting back into the race again. And Scott Dixon comes into the pits. Now, I'm fairly sure that is... Oh, Ericsson slowing. Ericsson with a gearbox failure on the home straight. And it is a scheduled pit stop for Scott Dixon, so without that off, he would have been right up in the hunt for the victory, which is a real shame for him, but I'm afraid it's game over for Marcus Ericsson in the Midland. He pulls off with a gearbox failure. And so, yet again, Marcus Ericsson is frustrated. He started the year with Simtech, didn't really perform the way that team boss Scott Woodwis wanted him to. But at Midland, he hasn't exactly had it his own way either. And mechanical failure after mechanical failure has set in at the Midland with its Toyota engine. Here is the Playlife powered BAR of Pascal Wehrlein, now in 13th place. Topher Smith ruining the misfortunes of Timo Glock. 2 wins in a row and then 4 retirements in a row. Not a great situation for Timo Glock. As into the pits comes Sato. Now Sato decides to go for the pit stop. So the Onyx comes in. Now this is the first of the big names for the pit stop. Takuma Sato settling into life in the Retro Racers Management League very quickly. In 5th place. Oh, and Frines has got past Alguersuari. And is that because Alguersuari's gone off? Yes, Alguersuari went off the road. I want to see what happened there. I think Alguersuari's done exactly the same thing as we've seen several cars do. Yes, Alguersuari just overshooting at the first corner. Well, Robin Frines is going to be delighted about it because it means he's not going to get held up by him as Vern and Courtney also make pit stops. So Vern, Courtney also in the pit. But that's heaven sent for Robin Frines. He clears the Prost and is now running in 2nd position. So that's definitely good news as far as they're concerned. Meanwhile, we're waiting to see what happens with, well, what's happened to Jean-Eric Verne? He's had a very long pit stop by the look of it. He rejoins just in front of James Courtney. So Verne is now rejoining in 17th place in the BAR. Not quite where he wanted to come out. Sato rejoins in 11th, by the way. So they are still losing quite a bit of time in the pit stop. But I wonder... Oh, Dixon's slowing. Dixon's slowing. Suspension failure. Well, obviously that off at the first corner did more damage to the Simtech than first realised. And Scott Dixon, I'm afraid, out of the race. So any chance he might have had of getting the victory well and truly gone. Well, that is not great from Dixon's point of view. He's now out of it. So the race will continue without him as De Resta's trying to get himself back into the hunt. Now, Frines is a few laps away from the pit stop. Alguersuari's going to go for a 2-stopper by the look of things, or maybe even a 1-stopper. Andre Lotterer still holding up the field, as is Van Dorn to a certain extent, and Kobayashi comes in from 7th. So Kobayashi pits in from P7, and he's not the only one coming in. The AGS is coming in as well. That is Alex Rossi. So Kobayashi in the Arrows and Rossi in the AGS, both coming in together. And Da Costa's out of the race in the Lola. Da Costa had a good run, but a water leak puts the Lola out, so he didn't really get the chance to show us what he could do. He certainly started well, Da Costa, but unfortunately not really able to give us much of a decent indication of his ability because the car packed in before he had the chance. Now Sato has rejoined from his pit stop out behind Pascal Wehrlein and is struggling to make an impact as a result. Into the pits comes Kobayashi. So Kobayashi in the Arrows. This is an important stop. Now Kobayashi is going to go to about lap 45, so a competitive 2-stop strategy there for Kobayashi. Let's see how it continues as Deniz comes into the pits, and the AGS of Rossi is going to come out about the same position on the track. Now this guy, Alguersuari, is under some pressure now in 3rd place. He's had an off and dropped back 12 seconds behind his teammate De La Rosa, but he's on a heavier fuel load, so he needed to make good use of the car and needed to make good use of the strategy. And unfortunately, he's made the mistake there, so has not been able to. Now, Tom Butterworth has got a prediction that James Courtney's on a 2-stopper and Vern is on a 3-stopper. Let's have a look and see fuel loads, because that will give us a bit of an indication. And certainly for the likes of Vern and Courtney, it's quite telling. Courtney's going quite long into the race, and I think Tom Butterworth is right. A 3-stop strategy could be what Vern is doing. It's the only way to really have a realistic chance of going for it, and he nearly gets the move on Alex Rossi, but Vern is stuck behind the AGS. So to be on a 3-stop strategy, you've got to hope that the overtaking moves come your way, and so far not many people have had the overtaking opportunities. So Buenos Aires may not have been the best call for the calendar for some of the teams, but certainly for De La Rosa it's just a case of keeping it out there and keeping it lit. Over the line comes Andre Lotterer running in 5th position on that heavy fuel load. But Stoffel Van Dorn right behind him is doing similar, so he's not getting a massive amount of pressure just yet. But we've lost Da Costa in the Lola, Dixon in the Simtek, Ericsson in the Midland, Glock in the Super Aguri, Hulkenberg in the Arrows, and De Grassi in the Manor. The rest of the field still pounding around this Oscar Galvez Autodromo in Buenos Aires in Argentina. There's Robin Freins, running well in second position, the Super Aguri. And he's definitely running a decent race at the moment as he continues on his path. Now, the Super Aguri has had a power upgrade for this race, so it's obviously able to get reasonably close to the Prost, but this isn't a power circuit. So you need to have good mechanical grip and good reliability to get to the end of the race. Here is Jean-Eric Vergne, who again is getting frustrated, sat behind Alex Rossi. And he needs to really have a decent charge out of the corner now. He's got a much better run this time. Can he get alongside enough as Di Resta sets the fastest lap of the race for Lola? Tarquini up the inside of Davidson, unable to get through. And De La Rosa pits from the lead. So De La Rosa pits from the lead, and that's Robin Freins taking over the lead. And this is going to be a two-stopper for De La Rosa. Looks like it's going to be a two-stop race for Pedro De La Rosa. And that's important as far as the race predictions are concerned. Now, where's he going to get out? If he gets out behind Lotterer and Van Dorn, he's in some serious trouble. Let's have a look and see. He will get out in front. So he's in fourth position. And there is Lotterer. So that is good news for De La Rosa and the Prost team. Robin Freins, though, takes over the lead. That's the first time he has led. And from 10th position, Taki Inui comes into the pits. The 40 is actually doing a fairly decent race here. Fantastic job so far. Jaime Alguersuari now running in second place as Vergne has another crack at the AGS. He's unable to get through. But there's obviously a few cars up the road having frustrations of their own as Tarquini is holding up Kamui Kobayashi in the Arrows. And they're racing for position, so you can't have blue flags either. This is for race position. So this midfield battle is getting pretty hectic for Kobayashi and Vergne. They have a points advantage, having had the luck earlier in the season. And they are first and second in the driver's standings with 36 points advantage for Vergne over Kobayashi. Could have been a lot worse than that, but at Fuji, Kobayashi made... at Shah Alam, I should say, Kobayashi made a big impression. And could have done even better had he got to the finish in Japan as well. But it's a tough old race here in Buenos Aires as Hartley runs in third. De La Rosa is in fourth position. And Andre Lotterer is currently in fifth from Van Dorn, Bourdais, Sato, Wehrlein and Davidson. Several cars on the three-stopper and several cars on the two-stopper, I should say. But a really good race. So Freins is your leader. Alguersuari in second. I don't think he's got a problem. Gearbox for Alguersuari. Alguersuari is out. So the Prost is out of the race with gearbox failure. No, they're still not the most reliable car in the field, that's for sure. And Jaime Alguersuari is out in the Prost. Well, that's going to give the likes of BAR and Arrows a massive sigh of relief because their points advantage is not going to be eaten into by two cars now at Prost, only one. But Jaime Alguersuari, plenty of bad luck for him so far this year, but he did get a race win last time out at Fuji. But I tell you what, rather sadly, he's not going to get another one. The Prost finally comes to a spluttering halt. And there is Sebastian Bourdais in the Onyx, now behind his teammate Sato. Bourdais hasn't pitted, Sato has, and Sato is in sixth position. So Robin Freins is leading, Hartley is second, De La Rosa now up to third in front of Lotterer and Van Dorn. But this race is dropping a lot of cars. We're now down to 19. So there are 19 cars still running, but Alguersuari's out, so is Da Costa, Dixon, Ericsson, Glock, Hulkenberg, De Grassi. They are dropping out of the race quite rapidly now. And we're on lap 24 of 72. It always seems to be the race after upgrades that there are some difficulties and some troubles out there for a few cars. De La Rosa sets the fastest lap of the race, trying to get himself back up the order. And that's not a massive surprise. A 128.9 from the Prost. It is the most powerful car in the field, even though this isn't much of a power circuit. But they are bordering on 800 horsepower in that Ford engine now. But the big question is, will it be enough for the Prost to... Oh, that's a slowing Sato! Sato slowing! Gearbox! Well, there are a lot of gearbox changes over the course of a race. A lot of gear changes. And unfortunately, we've seen the Prost gearbox fail. And now we've seen the Onyx gearbox fail. Sato is without a shadow of a doubt one of the fastest drivers. One of the best drivers in this field. But has just not had the reliability with the Onyx. to get some decent points on the board. Such a shame. But Sato, yet again, standing and delivering in the early stages. A shocking turn of events for the Japanese. But it's Robin Frines who now leads the way in the Super Aguri. Second place for Brendan Hartley. Then it is De La Rosa. There he is in third position, the Spaniard. Running a great race in third. Lotterer is in fourth. Van Dorn fifth. Then Bourdais, Wehrlein, Kobayashi, Davidson and Rossi. Rossi trying to get on the inside of Davidson again. And Jean-Eric Verne is next up as Robin Frines comes into the pits up front. And Hartley in as well. So Frines and Hartley coming together. Let's have a look and see the stop from Robin Frines. That's the important one as far as the race victory is concerned. But Hartley is 11 seconds away. Not a bad stop, and it looks like it's going to be a two-stop strategy from both men. Let's have a look again at Brendan Hartley's stop if we can. Yes, two-stopper. Two-stopper from both drivers. Oh, and Davidson's out. Davidson's spun off by the look of it. Let's have another look and see what's happened. Oh, he's had damage. So Davidson going wrong, I'm afraid. He's spun off there and ended up with damage to the car. So Davidson now in dire straits. And Deniz in the Midland going past the scene of the moment. But not the greatest situation for the competitors in the field, I'm afraid to say. For Davidson, he's made a big mistake there and ended up having problems. Now Taki Inui is running in 13th as a result of staying out of trouble. Jenny is 14th. Tarquini's had an off somewhere. He's down to 15th. Then DeResta, Davidson and Delatraz. So a lot of the reason why Inui is up the order is because there's been several cars that have gone off the field. Have gone off the circuit. He hasn't. And there's a massive amount of retirement stacking up here. There's only 18 cars left. We've lost 8 cars already. Sato, Alguersuari, DaCosta, Dixon, Ericsson, Glock, Hulkenberg and Lucas de Grassi. And it's ironically, it's not 2 cars from one team. It's several teams that are losing 1 car early doors. Robin Frines, having made his pit stop, is 10 seconds behind De La Rosa. But the Super Aguri is running relatively smoothly. There's the battle for third. That's Lotterer, Van Dorn and Bourdais. Now, Lotterer and Van Dorn have gone quite a long way into this race. Are they going to change up their strategy midway through? That's the big question. Oh, Taki Inui's off. Electrical problems. Ah. Oh. Dave Goddard can probably throw his shoes at me now because it looks like I have jinxed it. But mechanical problems for the 40. Taki Inui doing such a good job. That's the best drive I've ever seen him do. And unfortunately, he's out of the race as Pascal Wehrlein retires. The sole remaining 40 of Jean-Denis Delatraz running now in 16th position because he's obviously going to overtake the scene of his teammate. And only Davidson is behind him after his spin and off the circuit. Phil Kinch is pointing out that the one-stop strategy is looking pretty good. Look at the fact that Lotterer and Van Dorn are 3rd and 4th. Only a handful of cars have gone for a one-stop strategy. But it does look like it could be a very competitive way to go. So let's have a look at the positions now, because we've got De La Rosa leading again, having made his pit stop fairly early. But he's got a fast car, so De La Rosa might be able to get himself back up the order on a 3-stop strategy. It's certainly looking like it could be converted to a 2-stop strategy. Sorry, Dave. He's now gesturing at me rather rudely on the YouTube channel, bless him. But I clearly said the wrong thing at the wrong time. Now, with about 18 laps or so to go on this stint, De La Rosa is converting this Prost into a 2-stop strategy. But Frines is actually gaining ground on him. Frines is closing in on De La Rosa, not the other way around. Not De La Rosa pulling away from the Super Aguri. Lotterer is 3rd, Van Dorn is 4th, then Bourdais in 5th position, and now he's pitted. Frines sets the new fastest lap. So Robin Frines is closing up on Pedro De La Rosa. Meanwhile, Bourdais pits in from 5th, so that's going to give the place back to Hartley. Kobayashi will move up to 6th. Now, that's quite significant, because Kobayashi is now looking good for what's going to be 10 points, I think that is. No, sorry, 8 points for 6th position. And Van Dorn has slipped behind Hartley. Has he got a problem? Has there been an issue for Van Dorn? I think there might have been. I think he's gone off at the first corner. Let's have a look. He's done exactly the same thing Dixon did, but he's only lost the 1 position. Has he kept the car out of harm's way? He had to let Hartley go through. But is there damage to the Syntec? No, there's not. He's lucky there. So Van Dorn only losing 1 place. And the Belgian obviously able to get out of trouble there. That is a proper get out of jail free card. Meanwhile, Marc Genet has already had 1 or 2 offs in this race. He can't afford any more. Down in 13th in the Minardi. But we're on lap 27 of 72. This race could end up taking quite a few more scalps before the end of it. So, De La Rosa, Frines, Lotterer, Hartley, Van Dorn, Kobayashi, Rossi, Verne, Bourdais and Courtney are the point scorers at this moment. And Kobayashi is going to score 2 more points. Oh, that's Rossi going on. Oh, goodness me. Alex Rossi very nearly striking their line as he rejoins. And Diniz was lucky to avoid him. But Rossi, unfortunately, out of the points positions now in 9th. Falling off the road. Not good news from his point of view. Meanwhile, Delatraz is in the pits from P16. So Davidson with the chance now to overtake him. But there are literally only 17 cars left remaining in this race. 9 retirements here at Buenos Aires. And this is only lap 28. Frines gets another new fastest lap in the board. So let's see how our managers are coping down in pit road. We'll have a chat with a few of them as Lotterer runs in 3rd position in the AGS. Bourdais getting a little bit sideways under grip there. So I want to have a chat with a couple of our managers to see how things are currently ticking over. So let's head down to the green room. Let's have a word and see who is down there. Sam Hall, Manor team manager. Didn't go too well in the end for Degrassi, but Hartley is still looking ultra competitive in the top 5.
Well, yeah, every race at the moment it seems to be Degrassi having a problem, whether that's in Group C or whether it's in F1. The reliability just isn't there for his car for some reason or another. Yeah, Brendan's 4th. I think he might finish there. We've got to keep an eye on the one-stoppers, though.
Okay, thanks for that update, Sam. Let's have a chat with one of the one-stoppers, Phil Kinch, with the Andre Lotterer AGS, still running solidly there in 3rd position. A lot of the other cars around have ended up having difficulties, but Andre just keeps on ticking over. Great race from him so far.
He's having a really good race so far. The one stop potentially looks like it's going to pay off, but obviously we're going to have to see because there's also a high attrition rate going on at the moment. So it is going to be a case of those are at the ends. But yeah, good strategy so far by the team, and we're just keeping an eye on everything around us. Okay,
thanks, Phil. I think we've got time for one more. Let's have a chat. Let's have a chat, if we can, with Scott Woodwis of the Simtech team. Unfortunate for Scott Dixon. He was in the hunt for the victory, but Stoffel Van Dorn's not out of the war zone yet. He's right up in the top 5. A slight mistake, but he's still got a good chance to win on a one-stop strategy, potentially.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one. I think the trouble is, he truthfully, I'm a bit frustrated that he got stuck behind Lotterer for so many laps and not able to get through. I think if he'd been able to get through sooner, he might be able to pull a bit of a gap and put himself in better contention. A bit frustrating with the spin, but the silver lining in some cases that it possibly gives him a little bit of extra space now to do something. Kobayashi's gone off, no, apart from that, we'll see what he can do and hopefully try and get up there. Fingers crossed he makes it to the end. I'm still feeling fairly positive. It took a hit when Dixon retired, but we'll see what he can do, hopefully.
Okay, thanks, Scott. And he spotted quite correctly that Kamui Kobayashi had an off there, unfortunately. He was in 6th place, in front of Jean-Eric Verne. And that is a disaster for Kamui Kobayashi in the Arrows. That's put him out of the hunt for the victory from his point of view. And that could be the moment that potentially, if Verne can get himself into the top 3 in this race and Kobayashi doesn't score points, Verne needs a top 3 finish to win this title. And with the amount of attrition that we've got going on in this race, there's no telling where Verne is going to end up. He's currently in P6. There are 5 cars in front of him, but how many of those are going to get to the end the way things are going in this race? So it's a very tight battle and a very tough race to predict at the moment, but incredibly, we could well see a Drivers' Champion crown today. We're not going to see a team's title winner, that's for certain, but we're definitely on the cusp potentially of seeing Verne win the driver's title. For Kobayashi, it's a nightmare. He's down to 15th position, even behind Paul Di Resta. So an off for Kobayashi. He can't believe his luck. He's damaged the front wing in the process, and that is very unfortunate news for Emma Butterworth and the team in Arrows. So rather unfortunate scenes here in Argentina as we watch Robin Frines in 2nd place. He's got the gap down to 8 seconds now to Pedro De La Rosa, and Robin Frines is really stepping up the game here. The Super Aguri really wants to go for it. So this is an absolutely fantastic run. Now, Tom Butterworth is clearly frustrated, team boss at BAR. Vernon Clear Air not even able to match De La Rosa's pace, even by being a whole pit stop lighter on fuel. So, obviously the BAR team just counting down the races until they get a bit of a challenge for their lead of the title race. But De La Rosa's still leading in the Prost. No guarantee that he's going to take the victory, though, because Freins is catching him. 7.5 seconds is the gap now. So Freins is catching the Prost big time. I wonder if the Prost has got a problem developing, because it is the most powerful car in the field. We know that on paper. Tom Butterworth says that Verne is going to pit twice more. So Kobayashi and the battle between him and Kobayashi and Verne is still raging, as Tom Butterworth points out. In fact, Verne drops behind their line. What's happening? Is Verne about to go off? Yes, he is. Verne is out. Verne is out. Suspension failure for the BAR. Well, Jean-Eric Verne is not going to be crowned champion today. Devastating news for the BAR squad. Wow, this race really is taking its prisoners here in Argentina. And Verne, the championship leader for the 3rd race in a row, is out. So all bets now are off for the title race, because Arrows are still in it. Prost are leading it. Super Aguri is 2nd. Manor are 3rd. This is such bad luck for Tom Butterworth and the BAR team. They had such a great run as well. 3 wins earlier in the year. And they've made significant upgrades to both the car's performance and the reliability. But this latter stage of the season, things are going wrong. Now, of course, the reliability is a big deal, but all of these cars really struggled in their real-world Grand Prix counterparts, hence why the reliability battle was so high. If it was more competitive Grand Prix teams, it would be a lot less easier. So an absolutely dramatic race at the moment. Here's Brendan Hartley in 3rd. The Manor just coaxing the car through, and Kobayashi sets the fastest lap of the race. He is absolutely determined to get himself back into a points-paying position and get that gap down between himself and Jean-Eric Verne in the Drivers' Championship. Now that he knows that Verne is out, he knows there's a significant opportunity here to score points when Verne will not. So Kobayashi wants this title battle to carry on. And Topher Smith is gesturing and jaunting and jeering at the Manor team. Why can I hear disco music from the Manor garage? They're clearly quite excited about the prospect of things now, with 3rd position for Manor. But there are 5 different teams. In fact, I'm looking through and scrolling through the positions. There are 9 teams in the top 9 positions. We've got De La Rosa in the Prost out in front. Robin Freins is 2nd. Then it is Brendan Hartley in 3rd position for Manor. 4th is AGS and Lotterer. 5th is the Simtek of Stoffel Van Dorn. Stoffel the Waffle. Sebastian Bourdais in the Onyx is in 6th place. Pascal Wehrlein in the sole remaining BAR is 7th. And that would be his best result if he could stay there. James Courtney in a brilliant 8th for BMS Italia. Diniz is 9th for Midland. That would be his best result. And then in 10th position, Rossi in the 2nd AGS. Jenny in the Minardi is 11th. If he could get into the top 10, that would be 10 teams in the points. I'm not sure that's ever happened, as Kobayashi sets another new fastest lap. He's absolutely boshing it now in 14th position. He really wants to get back into the points, as Robin Freins in 2nd has got the gap down to De La Rosa to just 7.1 seconds now. There's another 16 laps or so before the Super Aguri pits in. De La Rosa's got another dozen laps or so they're going to pit in earlier than the Super Aguri. Here's the Manor of Brendan Hartley. The team look pretty ecstatic with their lot at the moment. In 3rd is Alex Rossi. Oh, he's got to be careful. Just 16 cars still running at Buenos Aires. This race circuit is certainly proving to be a car killer. And at a very dramatic time in the season as well, when there are just 3 races to go in the championship fight. It could become a stalemate with 1 Arrows still running but way out of the points. And De La Rosa in the Prost, Freins in the Super Aguri, and Manor's Brendan Hartley in the top 3. Making some big gains in the title standings, in the team standings. This could get mighty close towards the end of the year with 2 races left. 6.7 is now the gap. See, the Prost is not the best package today. In 1 lap, yes, but in race trim, they can't put the power down. They've got good power, but so much power perhaps that the mechanical grip is not as good. So this has been a very difficult situation for Della Rosa, they are actually under some massive pressure in this phase of the race. They've still got 40 laps to go, don't forget. And Frines is catching them up in the Super Aguri. He's got the better package at the moment in this phase of the race. And we know that the gearbox problems have set in for several cars. And obviously this circuit does have rather a lot of gear changes. It's very similar to that of Monaco in that sense, because you're on the gearbox a lot in this particular car. So this is a very difficult race still to win, with 39 laps to go. Della Rosa is leading. Second is Frines, third is Hartley, then Lotterer, Van Dorn, Bourdais, Wehrlein, Courtney, Diniz and Rossi. Then Marc Chenet and Gabriele Tarquini from Di Resta, Kobayashi, Davidson and Delatraz. And every team has got at least one car still in the field. Both the Minardis are still running, both the BMS Italias are still running, and both the AGSs are still running. They're the only three teams that have got two cars. The only three teams that have got two cars still running. There's all sorts of banter in the pit lane at the moment as the team managers are getting very social down there at Team Manor by the look of things. Sam Hall, obviously the party animal that he is, having a good old battle in third position at the moment as the teams just do their thing on racetrack. There's Tarquini in the BMS Italia. The other car of James Courtney is running in 8th place, so they've still got safety in numbers there at Dallara with the BMS Italia team. So is there going to be another points haul for them? They did a fantastic job in Japan. They got a 7th and an 8th place finish across the line last time in Japan. And that gave them a massive haul of points from their point of view. They got a 6th and a 7th. My apologies. James Courtney finishing ahead of Gabriele Tarquini. So when they score very well, BMS Italia. They've just had a lot of unreliability through the course of the year that's made things quite tricky. As Lotterer finally pits. Lotterer finally pits in from P4. And that hands 4th place over to Van Dorn, who's going a little bit longer. And yes, Lotterer is indeed going for a one-stop strategy. So they're going to try and roll the dice. They're going to gamble. And it looks as though Van Dorn is going to do the same as Di Resta pulls off. Di Resta is out in the Lola. So both the Lolas are out of the race, I'm afraid. Paul Di Resta now pulls off. No points for Lola today. And that means that there are now just 15 cars in this race. We're on lap 35 of 72. How many cars are going to make it to the finish? We're not even half distance yet. And we've lost 11 of them. This is absolutely astonishing. How many cars are going to make it home? Every team boss will be there on the radio. Look after the car. For goodness sake, look after the car. Because this race is just hammering these cars around the circuit. Pascal Wehrlein pushing hard in the BAR. How many cars are even going to make it to the victory? How many cars are going to make it to the finish line of this one? This is definitely the highest attrition rate we have seen so far this year. But Della Rosa is 6.6 in front of Robin Frines. And I have known many an occasion when only a handful of cars even make it home. Remember Monaco 96 when only 3 cars were actually running at the flag. 7 of them were classified, but only 3 were actually running under their own steam at the end of Monaco 96. As Stoffel Van Dorn pits in from P4. Now he should rejoin in 9th place, or it might even be 10th, depending on where Rossi gets out on track. So that is worth keeping an eye on. There's Lotterer, there's Rossi behind him. Diniz is there as well, so Van Dorn in the Simtek is going to need a relatively good pit stop here. Diniz, Lotterer and Rossi are all going to go through. And so is Marc Chenet, I do believe, but Van Dorn is still going to get out, having only made 1 pit stop. There is Marc Chenet going through in the Minardi. So Van Dorn still has a decent chance of points now. This is going to be a very difficult race to finish. Let's put it that way. Never mind to win, to finish. It's going to be a very difficult race. So why are we going to see such a cruel and tough race? Well, that's because this particular circuit is very cruel on cars. Into the pits comes Davidson on the halfway mark. And I think this is going to be his only stop. Yes, it is. He's down in 14th place anyway, so they may as well put him on a one-stop strategy and just get him home, essentially. So Della Rosa is 6.5 seconds ahead of Robin Frines. And it's not going to be long before his pit stop. a bit longer before Frien's pit stop. So Robin Friens is still going strong. Brendan Hartley in third position. 17 seconds behind Robin Friens. How many cars are going to finish? Seriously, we've only got 15 running. The rest are out. Verne, Inui, Sato, Alguersuari, Da Costa, Dixon, Ericsson, Glock, Hulkenberg, Degrassi. Only one team has lost both its cars, and that's Lola. But we've still got 15 cars out there. 2 teams have got both cars still running. That's AGS and BMS Italia, and they're to be commended for that. Here comes Lotterer on the inside of Diniz, and he makes a lovely overtake there into 7th place for Andre Lotterer. Jean-Denis Delatraz continues to keep that 40 motoring. If he keeps this car going, there's a point in it potentially, the way things are currently going. So Phil Kinch has found out that there's Beach Dean Unicorn Ice Cream at the Manor Garage, and a barbecue going at the Arrows squad. They've clearly lost interest in the race because obviously every car is dropping out of the race like flies. But you guys watching along at home are still finding it fascinating as Tarquini pulls off. Tarquini, well, that was a weird one. What happened there to Tarquini? He's already gone off at turn 1. That's what's happened. He obviously made the mistake and gone off at turn 1. So big problems there for Tarquini. He's tried to spin turn the car. And he's now, he's got out of one gravel trap and gone into another one. Oh, Gabriele, that's not the way it's meant to go. So Tarquini, unfortunately, now having to recover. This is how tough it is to get out of a gravel trap. And, well, I think Gabriele Tarquini's got to be careful here because there's a good chance that the BMS Italia could end up out of the race. His teammate is in 6th. Tarquini was in 10th position. He's going the wrong way. Manages to spin turn the car back again, though. And in 13th position, he rejoins. 14th, because Davidson's gone through. Well, a big moment for Tarquini, but he does keep going. And I thought for a moment we were going to lose the BMS Italia. There's Stoffel Van Dorn, having caught up to Marc Genet after his one and only pit stop. But Van Dorn still with a long way to go in this race. Everybody with a long way to go. All bets are off now because we're on lap 38 of 72. And we've only got 15 cars remaining. Buenos Aires is proving to be a car crusher. So many cars now out of the race. And we've still got a heck of a long way to go. To be fair, 35 laps. There's Bourdais in 4th place, lapping Delatraz in the 40. Delatraz lets him go. No major issue there for the Swiss, as he is just trying to keep the car going. So De La Rosa leads by 6 seconds to Robin Friens in the Super Aguri. Brendan Hartley in the Manor in 3rd position. Bourdais in the Onyx is 4th. Pascal Wehrlein is 5th for BAR. And that's great news for the BAR team from their point of view because that gives them a bit more of a points increase. But Prost, Super Aguri and Manor are still going to take a massive chunk out of their advantage. Arrows with Kamui Kobayashi are just trying to get back in the top 10 now after Kobayashi had his off. But the Buenos Aires circuit is definitely proving to be a tough one here at the Autodromo y Oscar Galvez. It's not the easiest racetrack to tame. And clearly, all of these teams have had a real struggle in terms of setup. And keeping the cars running is going to be quite the effort. Here is Robin Friens through the curve on the right-hand side. The gap has come down again. 6.4 seconds now to Pedro De La Rosa. But Friens has got to pace himself here. He doesn't want to push too hard too soon. Because otherwise, he's going to start edging the De La Rosa Prost a little further away from him. As De La Rosa will want to put the power down a bit more. Hartley is 3rd, Bourdais is 4th, Wehrlein is 5th. Then this man, James Courtney, running well in 6th place, but being caught by the AGS of Andre Lotterer. Then Pedro Diniz in the Midland. And then it is Rossi in 9th place. Van Dorn is 10th, ahead of Marc Genet. So Van Dorn has got through on Genet. I did expect the Simtek to make the overtaking move sooner rather than later. And he's definitely managed to get that one done. So Stoffel Van Dorn in a 10th position in front of Genet. Sebastian Bourdais in the Onyx in 4th position. Careful, Sebastian. I thought there was a little twitch there in the purple and pink Onyx. But it hasn't quite ended up being an issue yet. But the Moneytron-backed Onyx, I wonder where Moneytron get their money from. But Onyx still running well in 4th position. Their best ever result in Formula 1, of course, was a 3rd place at Estoril for Stefan Johansson. Tom Butterworth has said, heading down to the Manor Garage for the party. Let me know when Wehrlein destroys any glimmer of hope for points today. Goodness me, they're all very negative. But these cars are the reject teams of the past. They do have a reliability record that's not really to be envied. A lot of negativity and brash situations down there as Gabriele Tarquini locks up through the hairpin at turn 3. So Tarquini trying to get himself back up to speed again through the S's. And let's see how it works out. Freins has got that gap down again now. 5.8 seconds is the gap at the moment. Through the hairpin and onto the back straight comes the BMS Italia of Gabriele Tarquini in 14th place, trying to get back up the order. Here's Della Rosa. The Prost driver still trying to bang in some fast laps. He's not got too much longer before he's going to make his pit stop now. But look at that. He's in the 1 minute 30s compared to his earlier lap of a 1:28.9. Freins is in the 1:29s. So he's able to go a lot quicker at this phase of the race. It's about half a second a lap quicker, the Super Aguri. Hartley is doing an absolutely terrific job at the moment in 3rd place. Bourdais and Wehrlein are closing up because Wehrlein is catching up with Bourdais in the Onyx for 4th position. Lotterer is 6th, Courtney is 7th, then Diniz, Rossi and Van Dorn. And then the final 5 are Gene, Kobayashi, Davidson, Tarquini and Delatraz. And you can make out the retirements in their list. 11 of them here at Buenos Aires on lap 40. Lap 41, I should say, actually. 40 laps completed. There are 32 to go. Oh, Marc Genet having a moment in the S's, but the Minardi keeps going. Minardi is one of only 2 teams that still has 2 cars running. Genet and Davidson are 11th and 13th. And then the BMS Italias are 7th and 14th. They were 6th, but Andre Lotterer has got through into P6 now in the AGS. And they're going to be the only team to bring 2 cars home in the points the way things stand. 6th and 9th. As Robin Freins runs in 2nd place. 5.6 seconds behind Della Rosa. But Freins is closing in. Into the hairpin. Back on the power comes Robin Freins, and he is just chipping away at the advantage of Della Rosa. Della Rosa still trying his best to get away. You just heard him go through the shot. But Della Rosa and Freins are battling together. Pascal Wehrlein having a go around the outside of Delatraz in the 40. And he manages to get through, but that has held him up at about a second. He's lost about a second behind the 40 in his bid to close up on Sebastian Bourdais. That moment's going to take a bit of a pounding. But the race continues on as Della Rosa runs in front of Robin Freins. Well, the attrition rate has been incredibly high today. 15 cars remain. Remco van England, our supervan, points out that in real life this circuit was also an F1 graveyard. It's a good point because not many cars used to make the finish of races at Buenos Aires. It was always a car breaker. Same in the Downforce Grand Prix World Series as Robin Freins still pushing. The gap is 5.7 because Della Rosa is starting to get back on the pace again. And Robin Freins responds 0.2 of a second faster in that second middle sector. Tova Smith is pointing out that Freins is slowly eating into the lead. This ain't over yet. Too right it's not. If anything, this is where the race really starts for Della Rosa and Freins. So Robin Freins in the Super Aguri has got a genuine chance to go for victory here. Della Rosa back over the line again. 5.5 seconds is the gap as he continues on his way. He can't be long away from the pit stop now. He's not coming in just yet. Over the line comes Freins. The gap is 5.6. A 1 minute 30.193 compared to a 1 minute 30.192 for Freins. So Freins was 1,000th of a second quicker than Della Rosa on that last lap. That's how tight the battle is between them as Bourdais has lapped Tarquini. So Sebastian Bourdais in 4th position in the Onyx has lapped Gabriele Tarquini. 30 laps to go. So the last pit stops are going to be happening anytime soon, essentially, because most of the field will be on the 2 stoppers now. I think only Verne was really experimenting on a 3-stop strategy, and we never got to see it. Oh, mistake from Freins. Gearbox failure. Gearbox failure in the Super Aguri. I can't believe it. Robin Freins was doing such a good job. And it's over. Robin Freins is out at Buenos Aires. Oh, the victory was on there for Robin Freins. He's had a brilliant start to his racing career, but his third race and his first retirement. Well, it's the first time Robin Freins has ever retired from a race, but from second position, it's doubly painful for Super Aguri. They're not going to close up on BAR in the team standings. And that is another big name to fall from this race. Well, Robin Freins is out in the Super Aguri. Very dramatic race this is turning into, and now we've only got 14 cars remaining. Just when we thought we were going to have a real battle royale for victory today, this is going to be a race of survival now. Gabriele Tarquini locking up and nudging the curb on the way through, but Della Rosa is leading, and that's promoted Hartley to second. Bourdais is now third in the Onyx. Fourth is Verline, fifth is Lotterer, sixth is Courtney, 7th is Diniz, 8th is Rossi, 9th is Van Dorn, and 10th is Marchenet. So a very, very competitive race for AGS. But now there are 9 teams in the top 10. Topher Smith absolutely gutted. Very gutted indeed, as Freins had a great chance of victory. But that's now Kamui Kobayashi 1 place away from the points in 11th position. Kobayashi still going. He's not going to give up. Davidson, Tarquini and Delatraz are the last 3 in behind. But this race has still got quite a few twists and turns to come, I'm sure, as we are on lap 44 of 72. Into the pits comes Marc Genet. Now, I'm fairly sure that's a scheduled stop. But let's double check as Van Dorn up the inside of Rossi. Van Dorn's going to take the place from Alex Rossi. Good move from Van Dorn. P8 is now with the Simtech. And he's got a long race ahead. Yes, Marc Genet in the final pit stop phase. So Genet makes the pit stop and Della Rosa comes in from the lead. Pedro Della Rosa leads. It's academic now. He just needs to bring it home essentially now, the Prost driver. So from their point of view, it is pretty much game over as long as they get the car to the finish. Brendan Hartley second, Bourdais third. Where is Brendan Hartley in the manor? I think he's coming out of the final turn, so Della Rosa should be able to retain his lead as he comes into the first corner. Let's double check. Yes, Della Rosa leads out of the pit. So it's all about Pedro Della Rosa now, just taking his time, not pushing too hard. Brendan Hartley's got 1 more pit stop to come, as has Sebastian Bourdais in third. So for Pedro Della Rosa, it's now just bring it home. Wow, this is a very strange race. We've had all sorts of drama and all sorts of shenanigans, but the kind of racing we've had today, it's been about surviving and hanging on to it. Well, let's see if we can go down to the green room and have a word with a few of our team managers, because it's all getting very hectic down there for a few of them. Let's have a word first of all with a couple of our managers down in the green room. Let's have a word first of all with Tom Cairns. Tom, so far so good for Prost. Della Rosa's still ticking over. 3 seconds clear of Hartley, who needs to make a pit stop. You quietly confident still?
Yes, I am, Jake, and as you say, it's just getting to the end now. I mean, it was a shame with Suari earlier because we could have done with both cars in the top 3. But I'm not complaining with where Della Rosa is. I mean, I was not very happy at the beginning when Alguersuari was holding me. I did mention in the YouTube chat that I wanted him to allow Della Rosa go. Because Della Rosa was getting caught by the likes of Hulkenberg, Freins and all that. But thankfully Della Rosa's got a commanding lead at the front. I think Hartley is still yet to pit as well. So once Hartley has done his stop, we're very much in the clear in terms of getting this race win. And I think with Della Rosa on new tyres, he should be able to go for the fastest lap, I believe, which we may do so over the next lap or so. But yeah, just getting to the end now, and there's obviously big points for Della Rosa, his quest for the Drivers' Championship, and also Prost's quest for the Teams' Championship at this moment of time, given that Verne has retired from the race and Kobayashi currently out of the points. So yeah, a lot can still happen in this race now.
Okay, thanks Tom. Let's catch up with Ryan Ferris of the Onyx squad. Sebastian Bourdais is currently in 3rd position. That's a brilliant position for him to be in. But he's been in the podium places before and it's all come awry. Do you think Bourdais can just keep it going now?
Well, he still needs to pit, so that would drop him back into the midfield. But I think providing he keeps it going, we could be in for some good points. But our luck hasn't really been with us in the last few races, and especially with Sato dropping out with such a high or great opportunity to score either a win or a podium. We're crossing all our fingers and toes and everything so that Bourdais manages to score some points.
Sounds like a decent strategy to me. Thanks very much. Thanks very much indeed, guys. Keep it up. What do you do as a team manager in this situation? You've just got to sit there and hope that your car essentially comes home, especially when things are as tricky and as difficult out there as they are with this kind of circuit that really just breaks up the flow. Brendan Hartley in the Manor still going, but is hemorrhaging time to De La Rosa. The gap was about 3 seconds and it's now up to 5.4. The Manor is not really a race-winning car in its own merit, in its own pace and power. If they're going to get a win today, it's going to be misfortunes for De La Rosa up the road. But Bourdais is still there in third position, and he's got a good chance of getting that podium sealed. But Pascal Wehrlein is in fourth place, and he is a serious threat to the podium today. Normally it's Verne who takes all the spoils and Wehrlein who's in the war zone, but today Pascal Wehrlein wants to turn the tide a little bit. Kamui Kobayashi has had a pit stop just after Marc Genet, and has caught right back up to the Minardi. And the Arrows driver wants to get that car back in the points again. But Minardi has the 1 point at the moment. Arrows wants it to stand any chance of still being competitive when we head to North America for the Canadian and American Grand Prix. De La Rosa, 6.4 clear of Brendan Hartley. On paper, this race is won, but there are still 26 laps to go. De La Rosa just needs to keep it together. They can't afford another issue. They've had plenty over the course of 2020. But this has been a very tough season. All of the competitors have had their shares of victory, all of their shares of glory, and more often than not, they've had their share of disappointment. Bourdais still third. Running well under the bridge in the closing stages of the lap. Hartley is 7 seconds back. Now, Hartley's actually under some big pressure here because Bourdais, Wehrlein and Lotterer are all still very much in reach. So Hartley can't afford to have too many issues as Van Dorn has been on a bit of a charge. He's just got past Courtney. So Van Dorn up into 6th position. A great run from Stoffel Van Dorn, and that's why Courtney's got an electrical issue. Courtney with an electrical problem now. He's going to peel off into the pits and they'll have to reset the car. So Courtney will rejoin behind Kobayashi. Now that means that Genet and Kobayashi are now going to be battling for 9th place. But it's bad news for Courtney. Van Dorn, though, is up at a P6 in the Simtech. Denise up to 7th. Alex Rossi is in 8th now. Genet will be 9th. Kobayashi will be 10th. And I think James Courtney will pretty much be lapped as the two BMS Italias drop out of the points after the issue for Tarquini. And now an electrical issue for James Courtney. It's not good news as far as the team are concerned. BMS Italia now with a lot of work to do as Genet and Kobayashi pass the pits, and they are now both in the points. So Kobayashi and the Arrows team given a second reprieve. Courtney will rejoin in 11th after his pit stop, which he does, ahead of Davidson, Tarquini and Delatraz. Everybody else is now out, and Hartley pits from 2nd place. So Brendan Hartley now in P2 into the pit lane in 2nd position. And of course, that is going to take into the end of the race now. Quite a lot of fuel going on board for such a short stint, but they obviously want to make sure. They know how thirsty the Group C cars were in Adelaide. That race took place yesterday. Bourdais is in as well. So Sebastian Bourdais comes in, as does Pascal Wehrlein. So Bourdais and Wehrlein are in together on the same lap, and that should reset things with Lotterer in 3rd, Bourdais in 4th and Wehrlein in 5th. Because I think Lotterer is only just going to go past the pits. Wehrlein has done his pit stop. Here's Bourdais. And there goes Lotterer into 3rd position on the one-stop strategy. So Andre Lotterer and the AGS team have taken a real gamble as Pedro Diniz makes the pit stop. But their gamble looks like it's going to pay off. So Lotterer is in 3rd. Bourdais is 4th. Van Dorn is 5th now, ahead of Pascal Wehrlein. Oh, De La Rosa in trouble! The Prost is out! Oh my goodness, yet again, disaster strikes the Prost team as Tarquini pushes hard, but there is no victory dance for Prost today. There is no victory for Pedro De La Rosa. And the car is aflame. De La Rosa pulls off. What a disaster for Prost. It's game over. Oh, bitter recriminations again for Pedro de la Rosa. Prost are now a massive hammer blow in terms of trying to catch BAR in the team standings. De la Rosa was in the hunt for the driver's standings, an outside bet. But after that victory, I'm afraid now it's almost a dead certainty that they're not going to get it. Well, it was always going to be a tough race. We knew that the attrition rate was going to be high in Buenos Aires. But Brendan Hartley now takes over the lead, and Lotterer is in second position in front of Bourdais. But Bourdais has already caught the AGS, who on the one-stop strategy is just looking after tyres, essentially, and trying to bring it home. Phil Kinch, the voice of wisdom. This is insane. Argentina is breaking these cars left, right and centre as Delatraz pits from well, it says P14, but technically it's P13 now, because there are only 13 cars running. Well, Rossi pits in. Here's Bourdais trying to make the bid on Lotterer, as Marc Genet runs in 8th place now in front of Kamui Kobayashi in the Arrows. All of a sudden, Kobayashi looking quite smart there in 9th position. The Arrows is going to gain some ground as Genet and Kobayashi pass the pits and get past Rossi. So that's Genet into 6th, Kobayashi into 7th, and I'm fairly sure both cars can now go to the end. So Marc Genet and Kamui Kobayashi are going to the end of this race, and Genet is 6th, Kobayashi 7th. Bourdais attacking Lotterer for second position in this race, with Brendan Hartley in the manor leading again. So Remco van Engelen points out 2 victories for the Prost team, and they came one after the other, one for De La Rosa, one for Alguersuari, but today a DNF, and for the second in a row. Topher Smith is up for some chicken paella, apparently, as they're debating a barbecue down in the pits. So many cars have been char grilled today, as again Kobayashi has a go at Marc Genet, and again frustrated. And it looks as though we're only going to have about a dozen cars finishing the race, if that, because this is lap 51 of 72, 22 laps still to go. And Lotterer is there on his own. What's happened to Bourdais? Bourdais pitting again. Electrical problem. Electrical problem for Bourdais, but he's made it back to the pits. So the Onyx can still keep going. But they're going to have to reset the car. And that is heartbreak for Bourdais and the Onyx team. They were battling for second position. So now Wehrlein is up to 3rd, having got past Van Dorn. What's happened to Van Dorn? Because he was in 3rd position. Let's have a look. Wehrlein just makes a bold lunge on the inside and makes the pass. Pascal Wehrlein suddenly realises that BAR are on for a podium, and he makes the bid. So, Bourdais is able to recover in 5th position, I do believe. So, Bourdais will return to the circuit in 5th. Delatraz passes him, but it won't be long before Bourdais gets him back into position. So, this is going to be quite an incredible end to this race, as Genet and Kobayashi get past Bourdais now. So, Genet is 5th, Kobayashi is 6th. Diniz is behind Bourdais, who's in 7th. Diniz is 8th. Courtney is now 9th. And Alex Rossi, through all of this, incredibly, is in 10th place. So there's the fuel load for Brendan Hartley at the request of Topher Smith. So they've got enough fuel to get to the end of the race, no problem at all in the manor. Andre Lotterer in the AGS running 2nd. This will be their best. AGS still running very well in 2nd position. And is that Kobayashi slowing? Oh no! Gearbox failure for the Arrows. Big points haul was in the offing. And now they've gone as well. Well, dear oh dear. Yet another retirement. And this time it's the 2nd Arrows. So that's just 12 cars going. And Kamui Kobayashi is out. Well, that means that next time out at Vancouver, they're going to need a miracle to stop Jean-Eric Vergne becoming Drivers' Champion. Well, that is devastating bad luck for the Arrows team. But BAR still have their man Pascal Wehrlein in 3rd position, and that is big news from their point of view. Brendan Hartley leads the way. Looking good in the manor now. 26 seconds ahead of this man, Andre Lotterer. And let's not forget that Lotterer hasn't won a race since Marrakesh. Round 2, and that was really his only staggeringly incredible result. But Andre Lotterer has kept pace and consistency through the course of the season. He's only had 4 DNFs, although that gearbox is not sounding good. That gearbox sounded pretty nasty. There's a lot of... there is a heck of a lot of gear change issues with these cars. Transmissions are failing left, right and centre here. Emma Featherstone's made a bold prediction. She says that only 10 cars to finish. That wouldn't surprise me with 20 laps to go. But Argentina is definitely having a tough race. Now, Cardfacer asks, which controller are they using? Steering wheel and stuff, or a real controller? Neither. It's AI driven. So it's an AI driven manager league rather than esports racing. So it's a management league. And all of the competitors in this sport are the team managers. They've chosen their own cars. It's an AI management sim. And the game is Grand Prix 2. Jeff Crammond's illustrious and rather prolific title from 1995. Into the pits, we've got someone coming in. And I think all the pit stops were done. Rossi's got a brake problem. Having elevated his car to 9th place. The AGS in trouble. This is turning into an absolute carnage fest. Into the pits comes Rossi in the AGS. That will hand 9th place to Anthony Davidson. But this is one heck of a strange race. And it just keeps on getting more bizarre as more cars fall by the wayside. So this is a very, very difficult race. But the punishment is still being taken by all of these cars with 20 laps to go, 19 laps to go when Brendan Hartley comes through at the end of the lap. Here he is. Brendan Hartley goes into lap 54. 19 laps to go. Bourdais having a go at Genet up the inside. Oh, Sebastian Bourdais trying to fight back because he knows that second place could easily have been his today. So he's going to do his very best to try and make up the ground. Pascal Wehrlein, though, is closing in on Andre Lotterer. There could be a second place finish for the BAR as Davidson is lapped for 10th position. Pascal Wehrlein could get second in this as he closes up on Andre Lotterer. Oh, and that's the Simtech in trouble. That's Van Dorn. Stoffel Van Dorn in 4th position. Smoke out of the back of the Simtech. An engine failure for Van Dorn. Yet another big name falls. And Van Dorn in 4th position will not make the flag. Yet another heartbreak. Is anybody going to get a finish out of this one? This is an absolutely bizarre race. And Stoffel Van Dorn in the Simtech is literally... I don't think he can believe it. He's just trying to keep the car going, but... Yet another retirement. Stoffel Van Dorn is just counting time out, essentially now in 4th place. He will pull off the circuit very shortly. Meanwhile, we've got a great battle developing for 4th position. Marc Genet in the Minardi. Who would have thought this earlier on? Marc Genet is now 4th. Bourdais is 5th. Diniz is 6th. And James Courtney is in 8th position. So Lotterer is being caught rapidly by Pascal Wehrlein. And here goes Van Dorn. Van Dorn pulls off finally in the Simtech with the engine failed. Oh, can't believe it. This is just... a heartbreaking race for so many people. Right at the bitter end of the season as well. A multitude of cars. Just imagine how this would have gone if this was the first race of the season when the cars were ridiculously unreliable. We'd only had a handful of cars finish the race at all. We could still have that, of course. Argentina is really taking its toll. Well, Emma Featherstone has another prediction. She says, my prediction of 10 may have been bold. Maybe 8. As Wehrlein goes for second. Wehrlein goes for second on Lotterer. And gets it. Nice move from Wehrlein. So the BAR is up to second place. Andre Lotterer down to 3rd. Well, Remco van Engelen says, what happens if nobody should finish? Now, what will happen is it will go back to the last classified positions. Now, if nobody completes the race distance, then obviously that will need to be taken into consideration. But it will be the classified finishers that score points. So whoever is classified as a finisher will score points. But now we have only 11. Hartley is your leader. Brendan Hartley, the Kiwi, running in the lead in the manor. Pascal Wehrlein is 2nd. Andre Lotterer is 3rd. Sebastian Bourdais is 4th. From Marc Genet, then Pedro Diniz. And despite all the problems, James Courtney is 7th. Alexander Rossi is in 8th place. 9th position is Anthony Davidson. And 10th is Gabriele Tarquini. 11th is Jean-Denis Delatraz. Interestingly, Tom Butterworth has got a bit of a saying that he's been using all through the season, which is his particular driver getting sacked in the morning. Today, he's saying Wehrlein is getting backed in the morning, up to second place. He's finally salvaging something from this race, as Marc Genet laps Jean-Denis Delatraz. Lotterer! Lotterer's gone! Oh, the gearbox fails in the AGS. The one-stop strategy was looking perfect. But now Andre Lotterer with a failed gearbox. There's now 10 in this. Just 10 left. But they've all got to finish to be classified. And I'm afraid with 16 laps to go, Andre Lotterer will not be classified in 11th place. This is an absolutely dramatic race. This is like Adelaide 1995 all over again. And Alex Rossi in the other AGS nearly locks up. Well, now we've got a strange scenario. There's only one team in the race that's got both its cars still going. That is absolutely astonishing. So this is going to be quite an incredible end to the race, whatever happens now, because we've got Hartley leading, Wehrlein is second, Bourdais is third, Genet is fourth, Diniz is in fifth. Pedro Diniz in fifth place, everybody. Courtney is sixth, Rossi seventh, Lotterer eighth, but out of the race. So Davidson's actually eighth, Tarquini is ninth, and Jean-Denis Delatraz is in 10th position. But it's not enough to just be the last 10 cars in the race. They've got to be classified as finishers to score the points. And we've still got 16 laps to go, and there are only 10 cars left. This is just unbelievable. So here comes Diniz in 5th position ahead of James Courtney. This is genuinely a race of survival now. As Delatraz, it says there he's 11th, but by the time he passes the scene of Lotterer's stricken car, he'll be the highest he's ever run in a Grand Prix car in history. 10th position. Well, there we go. BMS Italia is now the only squad in the race that has 2 cars remaining. There are 10 left here at Buenos Aires. There's Brendan Hartley. The Manor still going. 34 seconds ahead of Wehrlein, with Bourdais in 3rd. Marc Genet is 4th. Pedro Diniz is 5th. Sebastian Bourdais in the Onyx team looking good for a podium after all. But then we've said that about pretty much everybody in the field. Delatraz might get a podium the way things are going. Hartley is your leader. Wehrlein 2nd. Bourdais 3rd from Genet, Diniz, Courtney, Rossi, Davidson, Tarquini and Delatraz. Here's Pascal Wehrlein. 2nd place. Over half a minute back, but all he has to do is finish. And he'll get good points on the board for BAR. Here's Brendan Hartley. No need to push. This is just about staying in the hunt. This is the maddest race I have seen. Tom Butterworth making us a very interesting point. We're averaging a retirement every 4 laps. And there are 16 laps to go. 15 now, but point taken, Tom Butterworth. There's Pascal Wehrlein. 2nd place for BAR. I don't want to say anything about anybody's chances of getting to the finish now. I don't want to say anything about how good the result is either, because every time I do, somebody else falls by the wayside. So it's just a case of seeing who makes it. Trying to do some maths in my head as well, obviously, because there's a lot of points at stake. Now, the way things currently stack up, Manor are about to go into 2nd in the team standings with 25 points on the board. They will move up to 167, which will take them just 1 point ahead of Arrows. But BAR, if they finish 2nd, are going to move up to 198, and that lead will now be 29 points if it stays like this. Prost are not going to score, nor are Super Aguri. AGS still have a good chance with Rossi to overtake Super Aguri in the standings. And with 6 points, they won't quite do it, but if one more car ahead of them goes out, they will overtake Super Aguri. Minardi keep themselves relatively in position, with Davidson in 8th position and Genet now 4th. So they're going to score some good points. They've got a chance of overtaking AGS if things go their way. Onyx in 3rd position. That's definitely their best result of the season if they finish there. They have had a 3rd place, of course. That was for Bruno Senna in Marrakesh. But that was a long time ago since their first podium. In fact, their last top 5 finish was back at round 9. And that was, of course, at Helsinki. So it's been a tough old race for everybody, but it's certainly sorted out the men from the boys on track. Pascal Wehrlein second, just trying to hang on to this. His best result coming into this race is a 10th. He's had 5 retirements and a 10th place finish, which was at Helsinki. Sorry, no, it was not at Helsinki, it was at Chennai in India. So he's really hopeful that this time the car's going to come home. But Verne is already retiring. Oh, Bourdais gone off! Bourdais gone off! What's happened to Sebastian Bourdais? He's locked up into the first corner! And Bourdais gone off in the Onyx. A podium finish gone for Sebastian Bourdais. Jenné up to 3rd. Diniz is up to 4th. Courtney is in 5th place. And Bourdais looks like he's going to lose a top 6 finish here to Rossi as well. Well, Sebastian Bourdais has not had a great season. His last points finish was back at Helsinki in 5th. But he's not been able to finish on the podium once so far this year. His best result is a 4th place finish, and that was at the season opener at Kyalami. But unfortunately, that is a Sebastian Bourdais error. And he's struggling even to get the car out of the gravel trap. If he's not careful, that car is going to be parked for the day. So Bourdais just trying to salvage something from this race, but Ryan Ferris will be bitterly disappointed. And Sebastian Bourdais has already had all sorts of difficulties for him this year. It was Bruno Senna that got replaced in the end, not Bourdais, but that is a big moment. And now, a minute back from Brendan Hartley, the battle for the podium begins. And there's 3 cars in it. Marc Genet in the Minardi, Pedro Diniz in the Midland, and in 5th is James Courtney in the BMS Italia. And all 3 of those guys have had issues in this race. Jenné had an off, don't you forget, in the early stages of the race and ended up pretty much dead last at one phase, and he's now in 3rd. This race just doesn't stop delivering. We're on lap 60 of 72, 13 to go. And this is turning into the most thrilling race, certainly the most thrilling AI race I've ever commentated on. Absolutely incredible. Well, I genuinely didn't see this one coming. It's been a tough old race, but this is tougher than most of them. And certainly the toughest Retro Racing Managers League race we've ever had. So now it's just a case of keeping it going to the bitter end. Now, if anybody retires from the race after about lap 65, they should be classified. I'm trying to do the mathematics, essentially. But it's not easy to predict how this is going to finish up. What a bizarre race. And it just keeps on going. But a very difficult race in prospect. It's been one of the toughest races I've ever seen. Brendan Hartley, 35 seconds clear though. The Manor looks like they've got the job done. Rossi in 6th position. Lock up from Alex Rossi, but he keeps it together. Brendan Hartley running very, very well indeed. Cardfacer says, my girlfriend thinks the commentator is the guy who commentates Formula E. That's a great compliment. Thank you for that. Haven't quite managed Formula E yet. I did present the Formula E fan village at Battersea Park in London back in 2016. That was 4 years ago. I've done Le Mans, the 24 hours at ACO back in 2016. I've also done the British Grand Prix for Formula 1 in 2020 for the Pit Lane channel, but not quite. But it's nice to be compared in the same. It's nice to be compared in the same category. And Jack and I are good friends. So through the double left-hander comes Pascal Wehrlein. Brendan Hartley still out in front. Pascal Wehrlein is 2nd. Marc Genet is 3rd. From Diniz, Courtney, Rossi, Davidson, Bourdais, Tarquini and Delatraz. The only remaining cars in this absolute demolition derby of a Retro Racing Managers League race. Round 13 of the 15 race Downforce Grand Prix Series. No titles will be decided today because all of the title contenders that could win the title today, well, just the one of them, is already out of the race. Jean-Eric Verne. His closest challenger, though, Kamui Kobayashi, could have taken big points out of him today and ended up out of the race. Prost had a 1-2 in the bag at one stage, but both Alguersuari and Pedro de la Rosa retired, which has happened to them several times through the course of the year. I didn't mean 2020, Topher. Of course, you're right. 2019 is the one I meant to say when I was talking about the British Grand Prix in the pit lane channel. Yes, it was 2019 I did it, not 2020. Hasn't quite happened yet. Brendan Hartley out in front. Pascal Wehrlein in second. Marc Genet in third from Diniz, Courtney, Rossi. And they're the only ones on the same lap. Davidson is 7th, a lap down. Bourdais has recovered in 8th. Tarquini is 9th and Delatraz in 10th place. Basically, the only 2 people in this race to have not had an off that I can recall that are still in the race are Hartley and Wehrlein. That's it. Everybody else has had some kind of drama or misdemeanor. And even Hartley and Wehrlein haven't exactly been spotless through the race. They've had missed gear shifts. They've had all sorts of problems. 10 laps to go. And this battle for third is raging. Pedro Diniz pushing Marc Genet hard here. But some big points are coming to the smaller teams today. Marc Genet for Minardi. Third position is on the rise. And looking back over Marc Genet's season, that would be his first podium since way back at Brno. Long, long time ago. So Marc Genet just hanging on in there. Brendan Hartley still pushing hard in the lead in the manor. He doesn't want to lose this race, but he also doesn't want to lose face either. He's not a cruiser. He wants to push very hard for the victory. And Brendan Hartley, with a victory for Manor, will push Manor into second place in the team standings if it stays like this, by 1 point ahead of Arrows. And that will break the BAR Arrows hot streak that has been prime in the Butterworth household since about round 3. The teams have been first and second in the standings all the way through, and it's only in the latter stages of the season that the likes of Manor, Prost, and Super Aguri have started to challenge. It's taken them a long time to battle for that second place, but here in Argentina, it has been a very tough race, that is for sure. Only 10 cars remain. We're on lap 64 now, as Brendan Hartley comes through. Looks like we're going to get everybody home, though. Certainly, it's been a long time since we've had a retirement. But there are only 10 cars left, and only 10 score points. So this is very much Formula 1 in the 90s once again. Brendan Hartley running out in first. Just trying to get his way through the chicane. Cardfacer says, I call that. He jinxed it now for Hartley. Well, I certainly hope not. Tarquini is now in 9th. Bourdais is in 8th position up the road. 2 men have had big point scores looking likely, and both of them have ended up going off the road. Not an easy circuit, Buenos Aires. I wonder if this place will return, because obviously in between races, the managers and myself, we do have a lot of conversations about where we should race and what circuits we should. We've had already a very busy calendar through the course of the season. And we've been to some pretty exciting racetracks. Some have been better than others. Kyle Army has had a race meeting both in the Grand Prix World Series and in Group C, the sports car races that we have on a Monday and Friday. And I think it's universally been discussed that Kyle Army is not the kind of circuit we want to return to. Not because it's a terrible circuit, but it's not fantastic in terms of being conducive to overtaking. And that is exactly the kind of circuit we want. We want race circuits that give us good action and good drama. And so far, it's not really delivered that. Marrakesh was certainly entertaining. It was brutal and it was tough as a second race circuit in Morocco, the street circuit venue. But whether or not it will return is yet to be decided. I think everybody has pretty much universally decided that Bathurst is not the venue for the Australian Grand Prix. It was tried because the circuit is such an incredibly challenging one, but it didn't really give us a lot of a popularity vote for Bathurst earlier in the season. And Adelaide was used for the Group C races, and everybody has universally agreed that Adelaide was definitely more exciting to watch. So it looks as though Adelaide is going to be the Australian circuit of choice from now on. Taupo in New Zealand had some pretty exciting racing on it as well. So that's obviously going to be one that people will want to discuss. Estoril, it gave us quite a thriller of a race, another old school Grand Prix track. So there's discussion as to whether or not that will still have its place. Brno in the Czech Republic gave us quite an exciting race as well. So I have a feeling that one could well return. The Po Grand Prix was deadly, and it finally gave Brendan Hartley his first race victory. He could be about to win his second, of course, with 7.5 laps to go. But Brendan Hartley finally got his first race victory by braving it out at Po. And that was fairly entertaining. I'm not sure how many people will want that one to return. Birmingham was very popular for the Super Prix circuit. That Grand Prix gave us a very exciting run. So that one could return. I don't think Helsinki will. The street circuit in Finland. That was a race completely obliterated by Timo Glock and Super Aguri. They got pole position, fastest lap and race win, and there was so much chaos behind. Chennai was a fairly reasonable effort. The Indian circuit at Irungatu-Katai. So that one could be a good one. Remco van England says that Jakarapagua would be an interesting one. Well, of course, the circuit is now no longer, because the circuit is now effectively the wreckage and ruins of the Rio 2012 Olympic Games. It's no longer there, the circuit, so that could be a tricky one. Maybe we could revive it. And Shah Alam in Malaysia gave us a fairly entertaining race as well. Pedro de la Rosa finally getting his first Grand Prix victory. Fuji was quite a good one as well last time out in Japan. That gave us quite a brilliant race. You can go back and watch all of these, of course, on our Downforce UK YouTube channel, so if you're enjoying it, hit the like and subscribe buttons, the notification bell as well. You'll never miss a race. And you can go back and watch all the content that we've made. We make lifestyle videos in motor racing as well as esports coverage. And I've done all sorts of different things within the world of motor racing, including beginner's guides. We're going to do some track guides and some top 10s in the future as well, to keep you guys entertained and still in love with your sport, even through COVID-19 and the lockdown. That was why this esports league was set up in the first place, but it looks like it's got legs beyond it. The next championship that's going to be taking place after the Grand Prix World Series is finished and after Group C comes to an end is British Touring Cars. It'll be the BTCC and Super Touring running in two separate classes. One race will happen and then the other race will happen after it. And there's even been wild discussion, and it looks like it could happen, of a Formula One career mode, which will be 1950 up to the present day, and it will just run in real time, or it will run race after another, I should say. So that could be very exciting to see if we can do a 1950 to 2020 Formula One run using this game and these very similar mods. 6 laps to go, and I can confirm that if anybody were to drop out now, they would all still be classified as point scorers. So we would still get all 10 of these cars scoring points. That is a sigh of relief for everybody still running in the race. But are they all going to get there in the positions they're currently in? That's the main question. Because they have all completed the set number of laps to be classified as race finishers. But will they all make it home? That's the big question. Brendan Hartley still leads the way for Manor. This Grand Prix World Series, of course, consisting of teams that never won in Formula One. They are all competitors, basically, from race teams that never got the chance to win in Formula One. And all of the drivers that are allowed to compete are also drivers that never won in Formula One, but they had to have tested or raced in Formula One at some point. The engines that they have chosen are not allowed to have been used in Formula One in the present era, so no Mercedes, no Ferrari, no Renault and no Honda. And the tyres, well, they can choose whichever tyre company they like, but also the tyre company they choose and the engine upgrades that they make, the reliability upgrades they make, have a bearing on how the races play out. But in Argentina, the entire form book has been completely rewritten. It's been a crazy season altogether because there's been all sorts of chops and changes. Kamui Kobayashi won the first race of the year, of course, at South Africa in Kyalami in front of Lucas de Grassi in the Manor and Sebastian Buemi in the BAR. Buemi was later in the season replaced by this guy, Pascal Wehrlein, who's only had a 10th place finish up to this point, but with 5 laps to go, he's looking good for second. The second race of the championship then took us to Marrakesh, and it was Andre Lotterer who took the victory on that occasion in front of Marc Genet's Minardi. And in third position, it was Bruno Senna in the Onyx, who of course is also no longer competing in the championship. Then at round 3, we went over to Bathurst in Australia, and it was a canter to victory for Jean-Eric Vergne in the BAR, ahead of Kamui Kobayashi and Andre Lotterer, who ironically are now the top 3 drivers in the championship. The fourth race of the year was at Taupo in New Zealand, and Marc Genet held off a charging pack of cars, took the victory in front of Nick Heidfeld in the Super Aguri, and in third place Nico Hulkenberg in the Arrows. Then we went to the 5th race of the championship. That was at Estoril in Portugal, and that saw a victory for Kamui Kobayashi for the second time. He beat Lucas de Grassi to the flag, and Sebastian Buemi in third. Ironically, the same top 3 as at Kyalami. Then round 6 of the championship saw Jean-Eric Vergne take the victory at Brno in front of Nico Hulkenberg and Marc Genet. Round 7 was at the streets of Pau in France and the Pau Grand Prix, and that was a victory for Brendan Hartley, who is leading at the moment in the Manor. Second place for Kamui Kobayashi. Sorry, no, my apologies. Yes, it was Kamui Kobayashi in the end in second. And in third position, Scott Dixon got a second place finish. So it was a third place finish for Kamui Kobayashi. I do apologise. So win for Hartley, second for Dixon and third for Kobayashi. And then we had the double victory. First at Birmingham and then at Helsinki for Timo Glock. At Birmingham, Glock beat Hulkenberg and Jaime Alguersuari to the line. Alguersuari got another podium behind Glock at Helsinki, but the man in second on that occasion was Jean-Eric Verne, and that really gave him a massive lead in the championship. And then we went to Chennai in India as Verne took his third victory of the season in front of Stoffel van Dorn in the Simtek in second place and Pedro de la Rosa in third. And then the last two races, well, round 11 was in Malaysia at Shah Alam, and despite Takuma Sato getting a pole position on his debut for Onyx, it was actually in the end a victory for Pedro de la Rosa for the first time in the season, despite how strong the car has been over the last few races. De la Rosa took the victory in front of Stoffel van Dorn in second and Brendan Hartley in third. And then last time out at Fuji, Alguersuari finally got his first victory in front of Hulkenberg, and in third place it was Robin Freins on his second race appearance. But here we are in Buenos Aires with 3 laps to go, and Brendan Hartley is just trying to hang on to it at the moment. Every single team manager still running in this race is basically just telling the drivers not to push. Don't wreck this. We're in a good, reasonable position. We're going to get points. Don't mess it up. And incredibly, we still have only one team in the race that's got both cars in the points. And that is BMS Italia, with Courtney in 5th and Tarquini in 9th. Sorry, no, that's not true, because we have the Minardi team going well. Janae is 3rd and Davidson is 8th. So there are 2 teams with 2 cars in the points. But Pascal Wehrlein in 2nd place is 39 seconds behind Brendan Hartley. There is Jean-Denis Delatraz, as up the inside to lap him comes Brendan Hartley. Oh, Jean-Denis Delatraz. A bit of a nasty scare there for Brendan Hartley as he comes to the end of lap 70. But with enough fuel to go, it's all looking good. Let's just double check all of the cars that are still running to make sure they're all okay. Bourdais has got past Davidson for 7th. Wehrlein is still 2nd. Tarquini is running in 9th place. Jede is trying to shake off Pedro Diniz in the Midland. And James Courtney is just a couple of seconds behind them. So 3rd place is still up for grabs. Alexander Rossi is trying to stay in the hunt in 6th position. So everybody is still motoring with these last 2 laps to go here in Buenos Aires. And it looks as though Emma Featherstone's prediction was about right. 10 cars running in the race, and it looks as though all 10 of them are just about going to make it home. A massive attrition rate. All the teams basically told, I guess, to tone it down in the closing stages to finish the race in their current positions. But an absolutely thrilling race as Pascal Wehrlein goes into lap 71, 2 laps away from his first podium of the season, and BAR will feel that this is a victory as far as they're concerned. Manor will have closed in a bit, but only to the tune of 7 points. And BAR will feel this is as good as a win, essentially, in 2nd place. Marc Genet will be absolutely ecstatic if he can get 3rd, but Pedro Diniz is still pushing him. The Brazilian would love to get a podium for Midland, and they are still giving it everything they've got. So Pedro Diniz in the Midland is going to try his best to get the Toyota engine car into 3rd position, and they've got 2 laps to go. So, the battle is still raging. There's Pascal Wehrlein, and he's got a Minardi in the slipstream. That's Davidson. Is Davidson going to try and unlap himself? There's no point, is there? In 8th position, Davidson breaking down! Gearbox problem for Davidson! So, Davidson is going to lose his 8th position. I spoke too soon. Davidson is out. So, Anthony Davidson will not make the flag, but he will still be classified in 10th position. He'll still score a point as Hartley goes into the last lap. Delatraz is going to get 9th position. That is absolutely astonishing. So Delatraz, the only driver currently on the grid that hasn't scored a point, is going to finally score 2 of them. So Brendan Hartley in the Manor is going to bring the car home. There's Delatraz. He must have been told by the team that Davidson's off the circuit. He locks up there. He nearly bins it. About to take over 9th place. But what an unbelievable race this has turned out to be. As there goes Delatraz into 9th position in the 40. What an absolutely unbelievable race. But out in front, here is Brendan Hartley in the Manor. He's opened the gap up to 40 seconds, and it's a fairly fortuitous victory. But they do say, do they not, as Ron Dennis famously once quoted, to finish first, you have to finish. And Brendan Hartley is coming through to do that. An absolutely bizarre race here in Argentina at Buenos Aires. But he's going to get his second win of the season. An absolutely fantastic battle. But Brendan Hartley comes through and he takes, for the second time this year, victory in the Grand Prix World Series. It's a win for Manor and a win for Brendan Hartley in the most bizarre of circumstances. And Jordan Delatraz comes home 9th for 40. 2 points on the board for Delatraz. That is incredible. And there is a party just started at 40. Truly unbelievable. Sensational stuff. Here comes Bourdais. He'll be gutted, actually. A podium was very much his for the taking today, but he made the mistake. He finishes 7th. He'll not be happy. Here's Pascal Wehrlein. His first podium of the year. His second ever finish in the championship, but second for BAR. That's as good as a win to them right now in the current circumstances. Tarquini comes home in 8th. He could have had a top 5 finish today. But here's that battle for third position. Marc Genet still hanging on in front of Pedro Diniz, but he's got to finish the race. He's got to bring it home. So is there going to be a third place for Genet, or is it going to be Diniz? I think it's fairly sure it's going to be Marc Genet in the Minardi. So Marc Genet will bring it home. A tough old race for the Minardi team, but despite dropping to dead last, Marc Genet is going to get the podium in third position in front of Pedro Diniz in the Midland. 5th place for James Courtney and 6th for Alex Rossi. What a race. What drama. But Brendan Hartley is your race winner in the Manor. Absolutely unbelievable. Brendan Hartley wins the craziest race of the year. Pascal Wehrlein is 2nd from Marc Genet. Pedro Diniz is 4th from James Courtney. Alex Rossi is 6th place for AGS. Sebastian Bourdais drops to 7th in the end, despite a podium being on the offing. Tarquini is 8th. Jean-Denis Delatraz in an astonishing 9th place for the 40 team. And Davidson is the last man home, although technically speaking, didn't make it across the line, and in 10th position. What a bizarre race. I've never known it be as insane as that. But it's definitely given us plenty of entertainment and drama today, that is for sure. And certainly at the top of the driver's standings. Well, let's look at how the standings were after Japan. No points for Verne, no points for Kobayashi, no points for Lotterer. But Brendan Hartley, with a victory, is now going to move into 2nd place in the driver's standings, I do believe. So that's a big moment in the race for Brendan Hartley. So that is a very important victory for the Kiwi. Let's go and have a word with a few of our team managers down there. First of all, to Sam Hall. An absolutely incredible result for Sam Hall. Let's have a word about the victory. Brendan Hartley for the 2nd time a race winner. And by my math, I'm fairly sure he's into 2nd place in the Drivers' Championship. What an unbelievable result.
Yeah, we're obviously really happy with the performance of Brendan and how that car's gone. Again, no luck at all with Lucas de Grassi. It's kind of a little bit of a hollow win because so many retirements. It was getting a bit upsetting to see how many cars were actually dropping like flies in that race, and 40 seconds clear of anyone. So it's not really racing. So it's a bit of a hollow win, but yeah, we'll take it all the same.
And of course, with 2 races to go, you're now just 30 points behind Verne in the Drivers' Championship, and with 50 points available. That's very much game on.
Yeah, we're trying not to look too much at the Drivers' Championship because it's still more than a race win with 2 races to go. But the Constructors is where we're aiming, and I think we're possibly tied with Arrows for 2nd now. So if we can get the Constructors, we'll be happy with that.
What a fantastic result for you guys. Congratulations. Let's turn to Minardi and Alex Goldschmidt. 3rd position for Marc Genet and the last point for Anthony Davidson. But what a crazy race. Considering that Marc Genet was dead last at one point to fight back to 3rd. What an unbelievable result.
It is, but it's the biggest downer from this is Anthony being literally a couple of laps away and his transmission fails on him. And we were in line for having both cars in the top 8. I mean, Mark's done a great job. I mean, he's come back from 5 DNFs in the last 6 races, and now that puts him, squarely within the championship hunt. I mean, let's not forget that this now puts him probably, I think, fourth or fifth by my reckoning. I mean, he was down in sixth place, and this puts him in the top 5 in the championship. So we know that it's out of reach. Mathematically speaking, we've got a chance possibly, but I don't think Mark's gonna do his best to stay in the top 3, hopefully. But Anthony's really disappointed because he was just completely frustrated when he came back on the back of a moped and he just went, that transmission was absolutely causing a problem. Mission shifts like nobody's business. So we have to look forward to 2 more races, and we'll consider our tenure with me running Minardi for season 2. But we're going to try and focus our efforts a bit more on the Group C challenge as well, Jake. So we'll see how that goes.
Sounds reasonable enough to me, but a 3rd position, you can be very proud of the podium. Let's have a quick word before we wrap up today with Phil Kinch. A top 6 result for AGS. That's still good points in the bag. It could have been so much more, though, with Andre Lotterer. That could easily have been at least a 2nd place finish, if not a victory. Phil Kinch. I think a little bit of an issue with the microphone there. He's so professional, you see, Phil Kinch. He keeps it on mute, even when he's nattering away to us. Maybe he's not even in the room anymore, because obviously I know he's got a very busy household there. So let's see if we can grab a word with one more. Let's talk with Ryan Ferris, I think. Ryan Ferris of the Onyx team. So close to a victory today for Sebastian Bourdais. Certainly a podium was looking very, very prosperous at one stage, but Sebastian, just a driver error, which is rather unfortunate under the circumstances. It could have been so much more today.
Well, yeah, it seemed the turn 1 of this circuit was playing havoc on many drivers today. We saw many go into the gravel trap. Some luckier than others. Obviously, Sebastian took a while to get out. But yeah, a bit disappointing, but still at the end of the day, we managed to score points where the last 2 or 3 rounds we've had no points scored at all. So there are positives to bring out of it.
And obviously, knowing that there is that sort of performance that can come, I mean, there's 2 races to go. Sato is obviously looking very strong. Is this about building for next year a bit of a unit that you can be proud of in terms of having a strong team?
Essentially, yes. I think we have got quite a strong team. The car seems to perform quite well on the tight and twisty circuits. It's just we're getting played by reliability at the back end of the season. Obviously, Bourdais had, before his off, had his electrical fault problem that needed fixing, which dropped him back down the order again. So, yeah, reliability seems to be a major issue towards the end of the season.
Okay, well, fair enough, Ryan. I know, obviously, a very difficult situation for you guys, but at least some points in the bag will improve the Onyx stock. So hopefully more decent results in Vancouver. I think we can now have a conversation with Phil Kinch and the AGS team. I was just saying, Phil, a tough race, actually, for the team, but a 6th place finish, some good points in the bag. But with Andre Lotterer in particular, that could so nearly have been a victory. Oh, 1 second. I think we're having some slight difficulties, but we will get a word with Phil Kinch. While we're waiting for Phil, let's have a quick word with Topher Smith, actually, of the Super Aguri team. Topher, an opportunity lost, really, for Robin Freins today. That race could so easily have ended up going his way. I mean, if the car had ended up continuing on, I mean, we could say this about so many guys today, but he was putting De La Rosa under the pressure, and it would easily have been a Super Aguri victory had things continued on. But so many cars dropping out today. But Robin Freins, the main news, of course, is that he's really proved his worth today.
Well, as for the race, it was definitely one of attrition, and it was a real shame to be one of those teams who suffered a double DNF. Robin was driving a fantastic race up until that point, and I believe that he could have won the race. He was closing in on De La Rosa before his unfortunate retirement. The numbers were looking good from his lap times. He was on the pace. He was closing in steadily on De La Rosa, but yeah, the car just let go. And it's not the first time it's happened this season. And with 2 races left, dare I say, it might not be the last. The one thing that I do wish to announce while I've got your attention, Robin has done enough to impress the team over the 3 races that he has contested. He finished 5th in the first race that he did for us, followed up with a podium in the next race, 3rd place, and this time we believe he could have won the race. And as a reward for all of his hard work, I would like to confirm that we have given him a full-time contract for Season 2 of the Downforce Grand Prix World Series.
That is fantastic news. So it'll be Robin Friends who takes to the team in their second season. So that'll be really exciting from their point of view. So congratulations to Robin Friends. Despite missing out on the race, he still has a chance in Season 2 to deliver. And hopefully, of course, with 2 races to go, you never know what can happen. We'll try one more time of asking with Phil Kinch. We'll try one more and see if we can speak to our AGS team boss. And obviously, a top 6 finish. But for Andre Lotterer, that's cruel luck. He could so nearly have won that today.
Yeah, absolutely gutted, to be honest, with regards to running really well. The one stop looked as though at least he was going to deliver a podium in what was a very, very high attrition race. And also really impressed with Rossi's finish in the fact that he's managed to bring some points home after a recent run of DNFs. Again, the long game strategy has worked, as we've proven, which is a case of just, poor qualifying means we'll just keep going and see what we can put at the end of the race, but just really, really gutted that once again the engine's been let down. There's been a lot of retirements in this race, which is a lot more than we actually expected. So again, we'll pull the cars apart, we'll put them back together for the next one. Not too happy, to be honest, today, despite the points.
Fair enough and understandable. Well, we will go now to the next race in the championship, of course, and that is going to take us abroad once again as we head to the streets of Vancouver in Canada. A fascinating circuit with plenty of action and drama aplenty, so we will see how it fares. The title fight is still on in both categories, but now with just Canada and the USA to go, it's game on. We can't wait. I'm Jake Sanson. A crazy race is finished, but it just means that the plot thickens in the title fight. See you on Wednesday for Grand Prix. Group C returns on Monday.